Alright, here we are in Stellar Horizons 2, halfway through the second century of the game, and we've seen a lot happening. First of all, combat began, I don't know if it was this century or the earlier one. I think it was the earlier one, but a significant amount of it has been taking place. You see the Praetorians collecting up a lot of escalation. The Syndicate has a little bit. They actually want more so that they can keep the good ones that they got. The Praetorians have pretty much decided they don't really want theirs. They're not going for the warlord capability. They have something else that they can go for. And if you buy warlord, you can't buy any other titles without discarding warlord first. We got bases beginning to be formed finally. You get damage on ships. That's not mainly through combat. It's through exploration chances. We got goods beginning to show up with some big questions of whether they will ever be of value to transport. Now, someone is transporting medications here where there's demand for it, but the payoff is so low, right? Now, it's worth it if you have directives to do it, because directives are big victory point things, especially if they're directives. For example, the consortium. Well, first of all, it's worth it because you need to cycle through a certain number of directives to get the ones that you desire, right? But also, like the consortium particularly wants trading ones. No shit. Praetorians particularly want combat ones. Yeah, we've got some growth happening at some of the bases. The biggest base we have is a 7 here. We have this system which has a total of 15 different points of settlements from different players, all interacting and trying to cope with one another as best as they can. Exploration, you can see it's reached here in the other end of the map, actually. And that's kind of an interesting facet because Sol starts on one side of things. I don't know why the map is designed in such a way that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hexes this way, but only 2 hexes this way. But the way things are expanding, there's a couple of players, the consortium and the givers, who are kind of on this side of the map, and they're more cut off, and it's going to be more difficult for them to get out to where the majority of the hexes on the board are. Now, they have their reasons and whatnot. Certainly from a play balance point of view, it doesn't make sense. You would kind of expect everything to go out as many hexes, more or less, in every direction. I don't know enough about galactic geography to know whether or not, some 12 light years away, not a barrier or anything, but maybe there's, a gap there or something that would make it more difficult to find things. That would be an interesting thing if anybody knows the answer to that. Anyhow, techs are beginning to extend. You can see we're up at the 3rd level of tech for a fair amount of stuff. Feels like the tech chart's going to fill out pretty quick. It could be that later in the game, as more and more stuff gets explored, that the nature of the game changes, either to be more militant, although it's been pretty bloody for a couple of players. In particular, the poor Starfarers here, they have been unable to build a base yet, and basically they've been being stomped on by the Praetorians regularly. Yeah, so one of the things that comes up is, will it become, exploration becomes such a little part of the game. Tech chits will become less and less a part of the game because you get a lot of them from exploration. You do get them from other things too, and you can go to other worlds and conduct science experiments. Well, you can conduct scientific inquiries or mining expeditions as long as you don't have a base in that system. I'm not sure how much sense that makes. I mean, obviously, look, your base is producing stuff and everything, but it does kind of make, I don't know, it makes some sense to me that ships would be able to increase the findings to some extent. But anyway, that's where we're at. And it is, I guess, Tuesday at about 6 a.m. And I'm hoping I'm done for the night. Because the rest of the week, tomorrow's supposed to be a decent looking day. The rest of the week's supposed to rain. And it would really be a good idea for me to go shopping. It's only been 2 weeks, which means I can definitely wait, but uh-oh. Well, best laid plans and avoidance of an abdication of all responsibility. As always, it's, ooh, somebody big just flew by. It's about 9 a.m. and, you know, my natural way of avoiding things is to not sleep and then have to sleep. And yeah, you know, I guess maybe around 7 or so I could have gone to sleep. But even if I did that, we're talking about I wake up at maybe 3 or 4 at best, and that gets me close to raid time. So whatever. All right. So here we are in 2150. Pay this out. Back up to 10. Oh God, our government is a mess. This whole Signal app thing. Is just, that's part of it. Been too fixated on watching, you know, the hearing and whatnot, and then just ended. Terraforming and add worlds. Okay, we don't add worlds yet, but we're in a position where 2 people can terraform. The givers and the consortium. And this is done, I'm assuming, in initiative order. They really don't say there nor here. Some of them may matter, some of them may not. This one feels like it matters. Terraform one world in a system where you have a base, unless it has a no basis anomaly. And let's take a look. Looks like the givers are first. So they only have a base here. All right. Although the population of this is bigger, I may want to terraform that. What do I want to do? I want to sell trade materials. Great. Okay, let's look at the different types, because that's actually possibly important. Arid and Earth-like moon. Earth-like moon is not going to send any goodies to Earth, is my guess. Trade good-wise. So I actually think that I want to terraform that. Into what? What do I pick? We flip. Oh, no. I can flip either one to its 2 side. So this would go to a 2-5. This would go to a 3-5. This is better. So we just succeed. We don't have to pull any planets or anything like that. Awesome. And then there was something about terraforming. If you flip a world from its 1 to its 2, earn 1 IP. thought there was something about terraforming giving victory at the end of the game. I mean, obviously I get that, but oh, this is interesting. Not more than 10 higher than its printed value. I couldn't terraform this into an Earth. Huh. I think I'm going to continue with this, though. And as far as I can tell, I just get an IP. I seem to remember the designer telling me something that sounded more impressive about points for terraforming, but maybe I'm mistaken. I certainly don't see it there. And then we have a planet over here. So we have the choice, this is our only base. We have the choice of upgrading an H or an A. A is volcanic. Volcanic is good stuff. Again, we'd get a bigger, oh, there's an H here too. Well, why don't we improve this and just get it boosted? Because that gives us either more money or more research. Well, yeah. And we also will take an IP for that. Okay. And then we grab one of each type. And throw it in here. And this is indeed the intention of the way the wording is, even if not absolutely clear. And now we go on to the rest of the turn. All right, a few arrivals. And time to build and repair ships. We got a lot of potentials for repairing. It's not, nobody has much money left though. And what that means is pretty much nobody's going to build ships. Although an RE might be possible or something, but the ship numbers are rather tight. And it's like, yeah, when we get money next time, you know, what's the chance that we'll have a ship available if we build up to max? So he's got 4 here. Is he allowed 6? He is allowed 6. Maybe. Maybe. Yeah. But most of the people have like no money, basically. This guy has 3. That's probably not worth it. That's a repair amount. 4 here, except I have ships that I would like to repair. I might as well repair them. I think that's more valuable because, especially with these CV2s, having a damage on me is nasty. Although this guy is actually kind of a problem. Like, he might want to go back to Earth. He's a shitty ship. I could get half the money back if I don't repair him, which costs about half the money. I don't know. I'll figure it out. It's not worth repairing the ship. I built myself another RE to send out. This is going to go back to Earth and probably be dismantled there. The only place where you can get the full value of a ship, even, like I said, it would be really helpful to colonists to have, you know, the material that a ship's made out of, more than to anyone else. But I can't even bring it back and dismantle it at like a non-Earth planet. And what's kind of interesting is that I hit build and repair. I can dismantle it at that point before it gets a chance to be fired on. Again, the timing on these, I feel like as you sail in, you should be attacked. You should have an opportunity to be attacked before this build and repair, and then possibly again after the cargo. Like, those are the 2 times when it feels natural, and it's sort of squeezed in between those in a weird sort of place that I really don't know about. If it was going to be in one, it shouldn't be there, is I guess what I'm thinking. But we'll take advantage of that little rule. But I did find somebody has a shit ton of money, the Givers, and they only have 3 ships. Unfortunately, 2 of them are damaged, but I can repair those 2 for $1 each. That's a deal. Because that means they're workable. Because I got 4 bases there, so those repair. And then I can count my ships. I have 1, 2, 3, and I think that's it. I got room for 6, so I could spend $12. And I know almost no one's left. I don't know how little money he has, but again, it's not clear what's open and what's not information in this game. $12. What are my ships like? Well, that's 12. If I had a place to haul beverages, I could definitely do it. That also is 12, but even worse. This one would be 9, not worth it. This one's 6, would cost 14 with the settlements. But I think I'm going to hold my cash because I can't send out, what I'd want to send out is $16 worth of ship, basically. Ship and settlers. And so I'm going to just hold off. And then yellow, I believe, has absolutely nothing they can do. They only have $2. Even if this is $2, it's 3. It wouldn't be worth it. Wow, what are these named? You got the Lightbringer and the Faithful. Okay, suiting their. And let me look for combat. No opportunities for combat except here where there's possible ground combat. I've already kind of dismissed that as being viable. At the values that they're there. So cargo, transfer, and trade. This is actually an initiative order. I don't know. Nobody just landed with trade goods. There are potential leavings. People might leave here. They could pick up colonists and send them somewhere. So let me think about him. This is actually done in initiative order. So I would have to pick up my colonists early, and then movement is done in reverse initiative order. There's not really any time for a screw up in there. It makes sense for dropping cargo off, but for picking it up and going somewhere, it kind of sucks that you have to make your decision so early. See who else. Is anybody else in a position where they might pick anything up? Not that. That can't carry anything. I don't believe so. I still can't drop my base off. But I have enough science to solve that this turn. One place where we could do something, I transferred a crew member onto there. I'm going to go here since there's a planet there. The only movement that's done, the ship that was here heading back, he's actually the guy with the fast CV movement. I think there's 2 people with it. The yellows have it as well. And then I flung my RE way out here. He has unlimited range? No, he doesn't have unlimited range, but this is within 2, but he has the higher speed. So it won't take all that long to get out there. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm focusing all over the place. But this isn't appealing because of the hazard. Maybe I want to head up there for that hazard as well. I think that makes sense because there's money, there's IP, whatever. Yes, the habitability sucks, but the only thing that goes against it is I have a lot of warships here, but there aren't a lot of warships near me. The only one, both of these are kind of close, but yeah, I think it's worth, I don't know why I decided or didn't notice that. They have a CV movement modifier of 3. This is a big deal because I can get places faster than other people. And that means if somebody goes into here, even if I don't have the initiative, I can reinforce more easily. So it's kind of cool if you've got the faster CVs, you can react to the enemy and screw them up. And that's something important to keep in mind. I didn't move yellow. Why didn't I move yellow? I don't know. Because they don't have anything to move? So I shifted quite a few of the syndicate ships and then a couple givers ships over here. With a military ship, so I can start blowing shit up if I so desire. Or not. It doesn't really matter. What it does mean is that I'm giving this, I'm leaving this base less defended, but there is a ship going in there. And that's going to put me to the exploration segment. 9 science value. This actually is only a 6, but I still need both ships to be involved. Trying to remember, I seem to think that I actually don't need both ships to be involved. That this one would have been enough. Nope, he doesn't have a little microscope. Yeah, so like, I think the microscope gives him a +1, but I still need both ships. We can resolve this. That gives me 3 IPs and a physics marker. Is there a 20? Nope, there's 25s. That's a little better. And let's see what comes of it. Bonus, +1 physics marker production. So this is getting really interesting. Now it says production, yeah. And I think that happens regardless, you know, I think I can take money production and I get that physics marker. I don't think I'm required to do, you can see if anomalies tells us, but I really doubt it. Well, first of all, I bet it doesn't say here. Some anomalies yield trade goods. I think you can get the 1 billion when you get a trade good immediately. That may be what he was talking about. But that wasn't clear to me. Like, I thought you had to actually have some place to put it. Others remain in production bonuses apply only during base production, even trade good. Oh, even trade good. Oh, fuck. Okay. That's what comes of reading. And only an unblockaded. Cash and tech benefits apply only when creating the same product, cash or the same type of tech. Wow. Okay, so I cheated and made the anomalies a little bit more powerful. So here, this creates a biology marker. Well, nothing in this system creates biology. So it actually couldn't do that. I don't know how I feel about that. I really don't. I got to decide whether or not I want to keep playing the way I've been screwing up or go to the other side of it. But here, physics markers obviously getting a fourth physics marker would be a huge deal. One machinery production, that's a trade good bonus, actually, that happens, I guess, during planetary production. Probably not a big deal that I screwed that up. I got to think about the other one. It feels to me like, it just feels to me that the anomalies aren't quite as cool, but I don't know if that's a terrible thing. Where the hell am I? I've worked my way, I think, through all of these, which means I'm up at this side. And a pretty bad turn for the true path here. They found nothing and took damage. Great. Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to mod things quite extensively, right? It's just, I kind of like to know the game better before I start doing that with any intention. Anyway, we got this side too, which there are a couple of Starfarer ships to do. I'm sorry, I'm a little punchy when I'm up this late. That's what happens to me. We have another one we can take out. That's one of these, the star chart thing. I rolled and then realized, wow, I didn't want to do that. So that was 3 IP for that. 3 IP for that. And then we get this cool thing. Draw one world tile for this and each adjacent system with an empty slot as if surveyed, which I don't think gives us any specific bonus. And then remove this from the game. Directive is to complete a survey at Vega. Again, I discussed this. I don't think that this qualifies as doing that. But I could see somebody arguing it, you know, and this one goes in there. And that's the end of exploration. That's developed tech. I got to swap batteries. Got the hiccups. Game has very little tech. They kind of want to keep their cards. I'm going to spend this and this to buy the advanced settlement. Let's only have physics tech. Really? I have this minefields. It's a really cheap card. 5 plus 6, or sorry, 5 plus 5 is 10. I'm going to actually buy that. I could have bought this for 5 or this for 5. Both of which, I'm sorry, no, those are transhumanists. So I have this whole line, I have all of this. I could have bought this for 9 instead. The CV movement's kind of nice, but this minefields, this is a special, you know, it's a card. Cards are cool because you can't always get them. Now, do I have Fleet 2? I'm not far from it. And I'm starting to collect up a lot of cost, so I'm going to pick a Fleet 2. Nice, I guess, but there's poor suckers. Dumped their cards. Got the card actions. Everything else people have on the board. Nobody gained any new techs. The Syndicate spent 11 on orbital shipyards. That's kind of nice. Let me make sure I don't have anything cheap. Physics, not the one I had. And the other guy is the transhumanists. Well, physics wouldn't matter anyway. It was a, oh no, it was a more expensive one. Because it's 11, yeah. I got to keep that in mind. It's hard to remember, but this would only be 5. Okay. All 3 of these went up to CV range 2, which is going to be a big deal. And then the consortium went up to a little bit more settlement. This is not full yet. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there. So there's 2 people who are in this but not in that. And yeah, this kind of thing is going to confuse me, but that's life. And now I just do the end of turn cleanup stuff, including putting an IP marker. And I think I break. I don't know what I do, you know. I mean, I could go shopping. Last time I went shopping, I think I was, you know, I think I went without sleeping or just slept a couple hours, a little nap. I think my situation was more dire last time. Like, I think it was, yeah, I really need to go shopping. This time, it's like, I'm running low on cheese. I can probably make it another week. I'm out of ice cream, but it may be warmer than I like to bring ice cream home. I'm running out of ham, but I actually have turkey in the freezer that I like to throw in there. Like pretty much everything that I live off of, I have in reasonable amounts, with the one exception of what I mentioned, cheese. Cheese is the one thing that I'm like, I should have bought 2 blocks of cheese last time. Hours later, I'm still probably too tired to play and couldn't sleep or couldn't convince myself to go to sleep. Again, the news has got me caught up. But what it did mean is that I caught a comment by the designer, which at least partially refutes one of the things I've been griping about. I've been worried about the trade issue, right? And how trade is not going to be valuable. Well, yes and no. I forgot about one factor. The further you are from Earth, the more it adds to the trade value of goods. It's kind of a little funky because it's like, it's not like there's a local scarcity issue or whatever. For example, you still get that money no matter. So I think it's like $1 billion per space or something. Let me see. He spelled it out, but I forgot it. Earn cash on the back of each goods modified by the world type, and add the distance from Sol. So those prices get a little better. That's my food because I'm not sleeping, so I must eat more. But like, you know, if we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away, right? That's another 5 billion. That kind of doubles the value of the trade goods. But I could even be producing those trade goods here. Like demand counters show up anywhere. So they can show up exactly where it's produced and it just generates some more revenue. But yeah, I mean, there are going to be situations where if you're out at the edges, you're going to be making a lot more money from trade. I forgot about that entirely. Around 3:30, about 3 hours of sleep or so, maybe a little less. That's kind of nice. That means I'll probably sleep some tonight. Although it doesn't really matter, and maybe I go for a walk or something, because again, I don't really need to go shopping. I did try splitting some wood, ended up moving some wood around, but it is a little too wet still. The older ones, they really need to dry out, but even the new one, I had a little bit of trouble cutting through it. Anyway, we're back up here about a half hour before raid, but we'll see where we can get on this turn. I may not finish it before, but then I can bop up and down or whatever. And it's draw trade goods. Okay. It is easier for me to do these during production. And since that's the rule, that's what I'm going to do. For drawing trade goods, an important facet, first of all, everybody just, we did this before, everybody just draws the amount they get for the particular century. I gotta put them in a bag. But I gotta pay attention to cards because some of the cards allow an additional trade good. The reason it's easier to do these during the production phase is they'll be over there, not in the bag. So they'll be easier to find, like a flora production, not during this phase. At this point, the consortium's up to 10 total. Just as an example of someone who has quite a few of them, 10 total production sitting on them. Now, if somebody wasn't already delivering this medicine, I have double medicine, but someone else is bringing it, so yeah. And that would bring an extra billion on top of the value of it because of distance from Earth. Humanists actually got one of those bonus type of draws. They got 2 machinery. They already had one here. This base is now full, but I've got a 3-point ship heading into there, and machinery is desired at a couple of other planets. I'll sell it here. That's not another player's base right now, so I don't have to pay anything. Why is there demand? Because it's fully explored and now there's like non-player. As long as there's no player base there, there's like assumed to be non-player settlements there to some extent. Plus it's closer. But that actually seems like a desirable thing to do. Unfortunately, I need to sell goods at Earth and I'm not producing anything but M's. The way this is worded, yep. This applies even to trade goods you can't or choose not to assign. Earn 1 billion per discarded or unassigned good. So we had a couple of players who had to throw a good away. I'm otherwise holding goods. It feels goofy, but I can do it at any time except combat. So if I need cash, say to complete a ship or build or technology or something, I'm gonna just throw trade goods away for it. Just money. And the whole trade goods, so their conversion to money anytime other than combat. Okay, look. If enemy ships are moving into your territory, enemy warships, you just grab the cash all the time. Because, you know, unless you have some kind of deal or something. But your chances of cashing these in, especially at this point, is pointless. I find the whole trade system really underwhelming. You know, an in-system delivery over here, if I just happen to have 2 planets that work together, is, well, I have to have the demand counter. But if I just happen to have that works, is as valuable as hauling it from anywhere else. I would want the distance bonus to be the distance from a planet that could produce that good, rather than from Earth. I would want the trade system to produce a little bit more money, I think, and I would not want the trade goods to be exchangeable at will. They shouldn't be worth anything, you know, unless you can cash them in. The demand counters I'm a little iffy about as well. But yeah. And just very unhappy with this whole mechanism. And it's, you know, one of the things that's new from the old Stellar Horizons, but it's like, you know, the idea of setting up an appropriate trading network feels like such an exciting thing, of the type that I like the idea of for this kind of, you know, interstellar game. But it just doesn't feel like much thought was put into it. In the same way that not much thought was put into, you know, holding some kind of consortium or grouping together without faster than light communication or whatever. I don't know. Right, a fair amount of arrivals all over the place, and I guess to build and repair. I'm really beginning to sour on this, you know. The parts I like of it are the old game. Everything that it kind of extends into feels like it's really just not appealing all that much. The cards are kind of a neat idea, but they're difficult to track. They become a lot more state. But I think they're kind of cool as to something sort of like the, you know, the nations have advantages in the old game. Well, here, the factions have their advantages, but then you can build your own advantages that other people aren't going to get, just like your initial advantages or your ship pool or whatever. Whereas you do have the shared tech tree. I think that kind of works. Some of the options, these suckers are kind of nifty, kinda, but they're so tiny print, you know, and again, more game state to deal with. What was it? Titles, directives. Directives I really like the idea of, but some of them are cumbersome to cope with, in particular this one. But the trade system is a new addition. It doesn't really work. The whole idea of like the interstellar expansion, in some ways it's just too big, but like it's just covering too large an area for these organizations to be able to run and support within any believable sort of functionality. Trying to think what else. Anomalies are cool. But, you know, the ability to instantly make decisions, you know, I find an anomaly over here, great. It gets, you know, sent out immediately. Look, in the near Earth, in the near solar system systems, the timelines aren't that ridiculous. Communications is at the speed of light. That's not going to take very long when you're just, you know, less than 10 light years away. But as it starts to get further and further out, those are going to become less and less believable. Obviously, the quantum communications, where is that? I expect that to be over here. I'm not seeing it in the physics. Oh, it's in engineering. The quantum communications, once that happens, I start believing a lot more. But at this point, we've got settlements that are 12 light years away. That means communications take 12 years. You know, without the quantum communications, it's very hard to believe, and that is not really a prerequisite for much. That leads you to level 3 fleet improvements, okay, better malfunction rates, fine. And that's artificial intelligence, something that's a lot more believable as, you know, a near-term type thing, although who knows what's happening by 2200, okay, no matter what. Robotic consciousness comes off that, okay, whatever. Heavy interstellar transport CV cargo capacity is increased, and CV8 and larger crewed vehicles. That's it. Like, to me, it feels like the game shouldn't even work beyond a distance of 1 or 2 hexes if you don't have that quantum communications. Like the idea of like, look, 10 years to send a message and 10 years to get a reply to that message, that's pretty fucking unbelievable too, to be honest. Depending on how tiny these initial colonies really are, and I think it gave some kind of discussion. Doesn't it? It tells you how many people? Yeah, population. So 10,000 is 1 to 4 settlements, you know, with 100,000 at the 5 to 9. We've already got settlements in that 100,000 people. That seems really, really unlikely. Really unlikely. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how much is being transported, you know. But anyway, not thrilled. Oh fuck. He had to draw 1 less trade good. There you go. I think he drew. No, he didn't draw one that couldn't be used. I don't know what. What did he take? He didn't take anything there. He couldn't take anything there. I don't know. Let's just take the $1 billion away. We're gonna just use those as money probably anyway from now on. But it's so, yeah, it's really not making me happy. In fact, to the extent that, yeah, I'm tired and cranky anyway. I think I'm gonna just go down and play Raid. I don't know if I'm gonna make it through this. I really don't. I like the mechanisms. You can tell I have fun playing with the core mechanisms of the base game. But then when I start to think about it, I'm like, why don't I just play the base game? Right, well, because I don't have time to play the games I like. I have time to play whatever's new. But and that's the only thing that I'm thankful about for this, is that I'm getting to play a system that's very much like that original. Without feeling like I'm not covering another game in however much time I have left. Right, a little less tired and cranky. It's, I don't know, gotta be about 3:30 a.m. A bunch of, I play some Raid and I catch a couple hours of sleep. I get up, I play a little more, get another couple hours of sleep. This is a habit that I sometimes get into. I don't know. It might be better. I might be up at times during the day. We'll see. Anyway, I'm at the build and repair shops. Difficulty in discerning all these different colors. And obviously, if you play in like 4 players, you can come up with colors that you can discern. I have to shove these little markers to the side so I can see the flags. At other times, I have to move them all around so I can see the military ratings. So like this one, I moved for the flag, but I covered the military rating and other important information that I need. I don't know how big a deal it is, but it is a pain. And here's the thing, anything that's in movement is going to have something covering it. Things that are carrying, yeah, that's not so bad because that's got its own little copy of the flag on it, actually. A lot of money. I've gone through 3 and none of them had enough to build a ship. I mean, they could build something small, throwing all their trade goods in. I feel so reluctant to just cash them in for bucks, right? I would if it was a really important situation. I'm not going to be able to build anything really important with this, and it's better to hold off, I think. This base is a little iffy with all of its resources on it and exposed. I don't know how I feel about that, but There are reasons for it to be there. It's my own ships coming in, and I have the capacity to carry a lot of those out of there. I did repair the 2 ships at Earth. I got 4 more people to go. I don't know how much. Like, they have nothing. I think they have a WAD, don't they? Yeah, they do. I think they're the only ones with the givers are the only ones with any capacity to really buy anything. Be careful not to repair something that's damaged coming into Earth, because it's going to be repairable a lot cheaper, or just don't repair it and scrap it. See, that's the question. Would I be better off scrapping this ship? For the transhumanists, definitely not. For the starfarers, I don't know, maybe. This is not a useful ship particularly. So I would get the buck I spent for a repair and then 4 more back. See, this is a weak military ship. It's got good science value, but it's not my best. And I really think I need to get a colony out there. So I'm going to actually grab that $5. I think I'm so far behind with the Starfarers that they're just never going to catch up. This feels like the kind of game where, and I think the original was as well, where once you fall behind, it's really hard to gain ground. The nice thing is nobody targets you, but you might be the target of opportunity. You might be to someone's advantage. For example, the Praetorians might want to hit you. Just for the sake of getting, well, not the Praetorians, say the Syndicate might want to hit you just for the sake of getting more escalation checks. Complained a lot about the trade system. I want to jump back onto something else, which is that if you're settling one of these worlds, chances are almost anything that you can't make on that world would be of value, and you'd want shipped, and you'd want it constantly being shipped, right? Here I am, I'm kind of thinking, oh, what about something like the Star Trader economic system? Look, that's too complicated, but it would make sense to have, like, maybe less resources, but have something like, I don't know what. Things that you'd basically have resources that you could make on an Earth-like planet, one producing life forms and whatnot that are useful to us. Food, although that's a life form too, probably. Plants, animals, etc. All that makes sense in a certain way for, like, populating a world. Now, I'm not really convinced which way to go. I'm agnostic on if you find another Earth-like planet, will it have, suitable life forms and everything on it for us to eat? That's a lot of questions in there, right? But if it has life forms, they can probably be modified. But if it doesn't, you'd want at least more of a seed crop than maybe the initial settlers were able to bring. And then you have issues along the lines of machinery, which definitely could be made on Earth-like planets. Probably can't be made in bare bones settlements very easily, but once a settlement gets to a certain size, it would, if it has the raw materials available on that planet, it would be able to provide for that. So sort of not this kind of pick a trade good that feels, what it feels like? It feels like, oh, what the fuck is the game? I can't remember the name of the game. But it's really like a pick up and deliver type game, Merchant of Venus, that I played. Also, I think the Isaac Asimov Star Traders is kind of that way, where you just, you pick up a particular good and you take it to a place that wants it and stuff like that. That doesn't feel appropriate. What feels appropriate is moving certain types of materials, and they probably count actually more than anything else as colonists, the stuff the colonists really need. But On the other hand, there would be interesting things like rare materials, or it's pretty hard to convince me that common ores are going to be at all valuable to transit. You know, it's one thing to mine an asteroid field. Now, there might be some systems that are like conceivably really lacking in some key metals that aren't that rare, and you know, there might be something that you know, a type of good, but you basically classify the goods kind of like you do with the planets, as to what kind of planet and society it comes from. Think here. I think Traveler's Merchant Prince expansion had this, which was, the key was where the goods came from, not like a Gal Trader original Traveler type system, which was like, oh look, you know, you're delivering weapons. You know, the fact that it's weapons doesn't matter. You don't want weapons like a tech level 15 society doesn't want weapons from a lower tech society, except maybe as collector's items or something, right? But like the idea of like a certain kind of goods from a certain type of planet is going to have just a certain notable value on other types of planets, and you could kind of have a grid for that. So you'd have a classification for the trade goods, and you just deliver these. And they'd take up space, and especially they'd be useful as you bring colonists outward. It would be valuable to haul goods back to Earth, and that means that it would be worthwhile for ships that have cargo capacity not to just be cannibalized, which is the other option, right? Because building a ship probably isn't as expensive as the star trade, as the travel through the space. You know, I don't know what kind of rare materials are going to go into these ships, but there's a lot of material in the solar system, and each of these systems is going to have a lot of material. The hard part is getting it in, you know, a smelted, usable form that's easily recyclable or whatever. And again, you know, it's a matter of like, it just doesn't feel like enough thought was put into the trade. It just doesn't feel like enough thought was put into a lot of things. Anyway, I keep ragging on it. I was having a lot of fun, but I'm getting to that kind of point where like the fun value is beginning to be overshadowed by the number of issues. And that makes me less willing to play, and being less excited to come up and play makes me, this would cost me $3. I could throw a good away and fix this. I didn't see that. It makes me less and less capable of playing well, and then that also degrades the enjoyment because I start forgetting what I'm doing and whatever. Anyway, let me get back to what I'm doing. I owe a trade good, and then I get back to building ships. I've gotten kind of low on ships, so I am going to build this ship that I didn't build last time. It's got really good war value. I can carry a settler. The only thing I was missing was a few bucks. Now, I don't have anybody at my settlement, but hey, there goes some more trade goods. They're just money as far as I'm concerned at this point. It opens things up because he repaired his ship. This guy could do an attack. Now, if the game allowed free transfers and whatnot, I could definitely see this guy saying, give me a buck or I shoot you. Kind of starts feeling like Lords of Sierra Madre then, right? Like, you want your connection open? Yeah, you got to pay me. There is no such rule in the game. I don't know which is better, because now he's got to make a very clear decision based on his directive based on how much he's going to piss off the transhumanists, if anything at all. Speaking of which, if they have a lot of chits, they could turn them in. See, they want this machinery. That's the problem. So they only have 3 chits, and their settlement cost is not reduced. This has... I know he's got a card in his hand that reduces it. I know he's got a card somewhere that reduces his settlement cost further. Or maybe it's gone now and he had one. But yeah, it brings this kind of interesting situation of like, yeah, do I really want to blow this thing up and get an escalation or get a bunch of escalation for attacking it? What do I get out of it? What do I lose? It doesn't seem like a great choice. But if I made the threat, I bet you I could get a buck out of him. You know, I just bet. In which case you could use your force as an extortive measure that allows you to gain value out of it without anybody actually fighting any battles. And I would think that on most battles, unless somebody has a directive for combat capabilities or they're aiming for something otherwise, most battles would actually just not happen in that case. But they're not happening here either. He's not going to attack, but I need to look over the board. It's getting worse. I had to move these guys over. You know, ships are one thing. Bases with all those trade goods and everything on them are a pain in the butt. I had to move these guys over to get the habitability rating. And I mean, you could get rid of stuff like the trade system if you just don't like it. You could just throw that out. It's not that big a deal. Make that shit a no effect, or maybe just, gives you money equal to your trade goods. That makes the consortium not maybe a good player. Makes you make some directives not work and stuff like that. But, I mean, then you're heading back towards the original, right? Like the idea here was that there's more here, but that more just doesn't feel well thought of. I keep going back to the same place. I'm just working my way through the combat things. Yeah, I know I'm not making a lot of sense or being a lot of fun right now. But I'm not even sure that there's anywhere where combat can happen. Obviously, ground combat here, which, again, not a great idea, I think. But for the most part, people seem to be moving off into their own little spheres of influence for the large part. Now, this guy's over here next to this, but he doesn't have a warship. But there's a warship coming. For the cargo transfer, yellow has a cargo transfer. They're going to drop off a colony here. They actually have the CV range now and could have gone further, but further doesn't necessarily give me any advantages. And this is a location that is adjacent to another colony, which is something that they like to do. Now his problem, I've gone through most of them, is, and I probably should have dismantled this ship, gotten my $4. But his problem is, yeah, there are goods out here. First of all, I have to play the look for demand markers, right? So entertainment, food, and medicine. There's entertainment demanded here. I could at least deliver that and then do some exploration or something there, I guess. I think that's the best I can do. Unfortunately, my ship only carries one thing. But I'll load that up. It gives me something I can do. But would I be better off cashing in 5 of these and getting a settler? I don't know, maybe. This is going to give me 3 for $5. It's a decent amount of money. I could grab medicine, right? There's a place with medicine, but there's somebody heading there with medicine already. And that's going to be gone. There'll be another demand there, but I don't know what it's going to be. To some extent, yeah. You might not be able to predict what the demands are, but man, you would be able to predict something they want You know, like, I guess that's the $1 billion you get for your production, but for your trade goods if you lose the race or whatever. But it's like, Jesus, man, you know, there's got to be an in between. Like, if something is that vital a demand that it's kind of random. Let's say it's medicine. It's not going to help you in 10 years to get that medicine or however many, you know. I mean, right now, our highest CV movement is ×3. So, yeah, 30 years. In 30 years, we'll get you some medicine. In 30 years, we'll get you some fauna. This whole trade mechanism just does not, again, it doesn't align with the type of game this is and with the realism that it's supposed to evoke and everything. And I think something else would be very, very much more appropriate. Something without, you know, the specifics of the goods, but again, the specifics of the type of planet that it comes from. So you could have like, you know, you would have a difference between raw materials, which are probably valuable, you know, have some value anywhere. Living stuff, you know, plants, animals, whatever. Luxuries. Luxuries are going to be valuable. Although, again, luxuries are often very dependent upon their apparent status and whatnot. So, for example, you know, take a look at like cigars, really, really good cigars. Cigars went through a big boom in the 1990s. And then after that, you know, people still smoke them, but they're not the same status symbol that they were, right? There's the anti-smoking campaign and all kind of other things. But that's the whole thing. Anything that's like a luxury is going to be so based on societal tastes, which are going to move. And there's no reason that one society will be seen as necessarily more attractive to another. So that would almost be like a crapshoot to bring it. You know, you'll probably make some money off of it no matter what. But yeah, and it could be a huge amount because it could be something that just when it shows up, it's like, yes, this is the thing. But it might not be, you know, and like that might be dependent on like your capability as a trader more than anything else. But other more base materials that you can deliver in you know sheer quantity and whatnot that societies you know just need that aren't going to be status symbols or whatever. Those are going to be more determined by just where did it come from. You know, what's the size of the colony, and with Earth, of course, having like, you know, more than the maximum size, but you could actually make an argument that probably the same kind of production could be made. You know, by the time you get up to 100 billion people, you got a pretty well established colony. I don't know. That's pretty crazy if you think about it. Wow. But yeah. As well as the types of planets that are present and whatnot. We have something like, I don't know, maybe at least 1 billion people, like for one category of goods to be produced. It would be at least 1 billion people. And like the trader could pick whatever he wants out of the pool, if it's available, right? You wouldn't be random selecting and whatnot because the planets are just producing, right? But you could pick something that's, you know, at least there's 1 billion people and there's a metal source like an asteroid belt or something like that in the system, which would then mean that, like, you know, you're able to get not just raw material goods that are of interest, but finished product goods that are maybe fairly high tech and all that kind of stuff, right? Like all that could be baked into the ideals behind it, so that it wouldn't just be, do you have an M world or do you have an H world present? But it would be a combination of population and world types, where honestly, a high population would probably prevent you from sending maybe as interesting livestock or something like that, because you'd have to, once you get up to 100 billion, you might be living off vat food at that point. And then, which would be what you have transported to begin with, right? So you have some of that, and you probably can grow as much of that as you like. But, like, who would be interested in fauna? Honestly, quite possibly worlds that are already M-type, right? Because they're Earth-like worlds, and then you'd be able to bring maybe a better type of living creature to that world. It's probably going to be very hard for those living creatures to live on, a heavily volcanic world, or what are some of these others that are, well, a polar world. You can't, a barren world. You just can't like have herds of livestock. So, it would be based on like sort of the converse, So like a planet with a small amount of people might be producing, or with a moderate size amount of people, might be producing livestock, and it's the same kind of planets that want that stuff. They just want it delivered from somewhere else. You might also want, so that would be tricky. The other thing I would be saying is, for what the demand is, so you wouldn't want to deliver stuff that they already essentially have, because you might break even on buying the materials and selling them, but that would all be abstracted. So what you have to do is just pick up the materials and deliver them someplace, and then you make money for the delivery. You don't really worry about the whole, hey, I buy this here, I sell this here, like a Gal Trader type game. But instead, and that would mean that, yeah, you probably wouldn't want to have things that are the same. And what you do is you determine a rarity. How far away is the nearest source of the stuff that you're trying to sell at a planet? So they would have to want the stuff, and that wouldn't be by chit, that would just be by the type of planet and population setup they are. And how far away is it that you reach the nearest known source of that stuff? And that would be your distance modifier, instead of like just doing it from Seoul, so that like goods that I produce here just sell at higher rates there if they're desirable there, which becomes just kind of weird. You stock up goods in the hope that you get a demand marker. Wow, I'm really like avoiding playing and just babbling on. But I just feel like there could have been so much more to this game. And it could have been abstracted away a lot, right? But instead, what we've got is something that feels very much like Merchants of Venus, with a less interesting movement system, Like, that's a game that focuses on that pickup and delivery type stuff and rush to get materials somewhere and whatever. The key is that the trading system could actually be at least as simple as this. It wouldn't have to be, some kind of massively complex thing keeping track of prices on all the planets the way Star Trader does, the old SPI game. That is a brilliant game, by the way. It's basically executive decision or business strategy sitting in a situation where you actually have to deliver the goods through hostile or potentially hostile territory and whatnot, and through events and all that. It's a really, really good game. It's got its issues, but the framework of it is like, I want more of this, I wouldn't suggest something like that because that's not the focus of this game. But then the trade would be a system about as simple as this, but one which reflected trade, the realities of trade, not some sort of, well, Alpha Centauri, when we the first settlers that showed up there forgot to bring medicine. And now it's 50 years later, and we're finally delivering it to them. They will have figured out a medicine by then, or, the plague got them. In ways, it just feels like this game is one where the decision to make it, the movement rates and everything, at least attempt to be kind of a hard reality type of science, just does not align with so much that it's been designed for. Like, this kind of system feels like it belongs in Star Trek along with the planetary letters. Finally made it through the cargo transfer. Now it's time to make decisions on movement. This time in reverse initiative order. Figure out if anybody's going anywhere. I think there's less and less of that happening. Again, as people start settling on what their spheres of influence are, they kind of want to deal with those. I'm not describing a lot. I end up taking up a lot of time on the video just because I like to run my mouth. We got an interesting decision here for the Praetorians. This directive is worth 3 whole victory points. If I gather up my ships and whatnot, I can keep heading this way, hope that they're still the biggest thing, and hit them. But I got a much, much closer target right now, which is this violent separatists, where I'll get 6 IP. It has no particular advantage other than that. But it's kind of hard to, like, not go for, something along those lines. Plus, as long as I'm not exploring, I'm not in the running for this, which maybe is more important than getting my directive so quickly. Maybe somebody will move near me, or things will change, because this is a long way to go to hunt those ships down, and they may leave. Uh-oh, I must have cheated. I have a 4 here, but I got 2 planets, but this guy found the stellar map. Praetorians moving here. The world starfarers feel like the Praetorians just fucking hate them and are hunting them down. Another interesting sort of corollary from the game. The Givers. They have a base here. This is their only base. Okay. I got a CV here about to drop off a base. My directive is to just explore. Oh no, it's not even. Why am I over in Epsilon Eridani so hard? I don't know. I've got a colonist there. I'm only allowed 3 colonists. But what I was thinking was, oh look, I have a colonist here. I could deliver him here. But then I can't explore when I get there. I can at least explore when I get here. And then I realized, wait a minute, I have machinery on board. I could have delivered machinery there instead of bringing my colonists. Now this is the time that I would actually, well, just a little while ago is the time that I actually would have bought those colonists. I think you only get +1 for just having that kind of planet around. And this tries to show this is the kind of planet that would demand machinery. This is the kind of planet that produces it. So if they're both there, you just get the base value. But that doesn't feel appropriate. To be willing to haul something over space, I mean, you shouldn't get any value essentially out of hauling. You should at best break even out of hauling to a place where it is produced nearby. And you know what I would do with this? HK, if you're delivering materials to a planet with a H or K, you get whatever the price is. And I don't know what that price is, right? It might be the $5. But if there's an ML there, you don't get that. And then, and you could do this with this chit set. And then you get another +1 for every distance away from an M or L that you are. And that would work. Anyway, what I'm considering here is whether or not to haul this. Now, I think I probably spent a trade chit, but I don't know. I could have gotten the $4 for that. So, do I want to deliver this goods, take 4 turns? I just don't think it's fucking worth it. I just don't think it's worth it. I think it's worth more for me to push greater settlements. I'm a little worried about this planet, but I have a nice big military ship there. I don't know. This one has more exploration chances. I guess I'll go there, because I can only support 3 bases right now, and I've got 1, 2, 3 that I'm building. It's a situation where I had just about the right amount of money to build this ship and to build its settlement, and to didn't really consider where it's going to go. But I think this is fine, upping my settlement size, because the bigger the settlements go, the more they produce, the better it is. And honestly, see, this is the thing. Like, okay, if I get up to a size 5 settlement, I get $1 billion extra. But that's once every 7 chits that I get that. The money that I would get from this, let me take the $4 back. I'm gonna haul the machinery in. Fuck it. I want trade to happen, damn it. Feels like the money's not really worth much, but it's not like I get that much off of delivering colonists either. And given that I'm at my maximum number of bases, it becomes really questionable. Although this one and this one at 1 colonist each is not terribly exciting. Who knows, when I deliver this machinery, I don't know, nothing's going to show up for me. Yeah, I don't know. Fuck it. I don't know what I'm doing. For yellow, fear. There's somebody with a ship about to arrive. Yeah, I just arrived and I dropped off my colony. It's my 2nd colony. I'm sure I'm allowed 2. I'm allowed 3. But now I got to decide what to do with this ship. I've got a focus down here. I've got a big colonial capacity there. My colonists are cheap. I think I'm going back to Earth. My range is good. My movement is good. This is not a fast ship. It's just to the end of this. Now it's time for exploration, which is still kind of fun. I never had a lot of fun with the real thinky parts of the game. When I have to try to consider building ships, when I have to do all the kind of calculations and considerations as to tech. But the exploration's fun. That's the part I really liked out of the original, and that was a lot more of the game. There was exploration, there was combat, there was some colonization aspects and production. And I mean, yeah, you still had the tech and you still had building ships. The tech was certainly just as painful. I remember that tech chart. I'm just not a fan of those things, I'm not a fan of them. I've played, I don't remember what it was. Is it Eclipse or something like that? It was a big 4X type game that was, kind of exciting at one point, but I tried playing it and I'm like, oh, this is just, it's all about the figuring the chart out the same way as like Advanced Civ is, although Advanced Civ is not as heavy on it. I think you may have noticed this with the original game. If you don't rotate these counters, like if you don't find anything, if you don't get the, that 5-point thing that you need to get, and 5 points are great, whatever. But if you don't rotate the counters, you end up collecting more tech by, just sitting where you are, right? And doing the exploration values. But there's other advantages to actually finding out what's there, I guess. Me down to the developed text. I'm almost out of battery. I'm out of pipe. I need more coffee. I need a break. I babbled way too much about other stuff. But it is kind of fun, for me at least. I don't know about for you. Maybe more fun than the actual play is to consider what the game could have been. And I'm not saying that I had these hopes. So the only hope I really had when I bought this was that it would expand the original Stellar Horizons. It's a continuation of it, the same way that High Frontiers it creates an expansion for going out. And maybe, less about expanding over this huge, whatever, what do we got? 46 light years in this direction, 12 in this direction, say 50 light year distance here. We don't know how many light years there are between these because you can't really judge. But yeah, I mean, 50 light years over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hexes. Now remember, 8 hexes at your best movement rate, actually, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hexes. So that 50 light years distance, 7 hexes means you can do it in 3.5 turns, round it up to 4 or whatever. But you're going 50 light years in 40 turns, or 40 years. Like I said, there are edge cases where you go over the speed of light. It's a rounding error, but I'm not really sure that, again, who knows in hundreds of years? Who knows how what the tech goes to or whatever, but even coming close to the speed of light seems pretty questionable. At any kind of acceleration that would get you up there within 50 years. Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna break, and I don't know why I'm just babbling. But yeah, the other, I had a certain desire for, what the game would be. But in not meeting that, and in being something of this nature, I wish it had tackled the subject seriously. As opposed to, and forget about the speed of light thing. Like, rounding error, fine, whatever. A little unrealistic, sure, but the big thing has to do with the communications before quantum communications comes into play, and the trade system, just the organization that these are like, it almost feels like you wouldn't be a faction all over the board, right? But I don't know what you'd be. Like, that's what's really hard to judge. What are you? Now, the solo or the cooperative games might work better in the sense that you're abstracting away this kind of, I'm on team syndicate or whatever. But but yeah, it's like you command the resources and everything all over the place, and it feels weird to me. It really does. Whereas something that like maybe explored this level of really deep space compared to what High Frontier shows up, where you're trying to get, to Alpha Centauri, basically, right? Like that is kind of the goal of the game: get to a nearby planet. Um, and I'm trying to remember what the fuck is the GMT one? I remembered its name, or I went down and looked up Space Merchant. I don't know. I don't remember its name, but that one abstracted all of this so much that you kind of don't think about the time spans involved in the communications and everything. But it really, it does handle explore the solar system, explore the near planets, explore the far planets. It feels so abstracted that, like, I don't really feel like I'm playing a single nation. I feel like I'm a nation here, to tell you the truth. These different factions. But if they're almost a religious, cultural divide, then it makes a little more sense. And I guess if you look at it that sense, yeah, you wouldn't be exerting the kind of command and control that you exert in this. But there would be a level of I don't know how to put it. I really don't. A camaraderie, a team spirit type thing that kind of links these together and makes them operate, a little bit more in conjunction with each other without the same kind of without the kind of absolute control that the game seems to portray. But you could take that as an abstraction as well. And then 6 a.m., it's a lot darker than I expected. The daylight savings switch. So a couple of days, or yesterday or whatever, I thought it was getting close to getting light. It may have been later than I thought. Okay. So before I get to the development, I wrote a little thread on BGG about an alternative trade system that I think I've got the bones of. And I think I'm going to test that out. Not yet. I'm going to wait until people deliver whatever goods they want to deliver here. But basically what it's going to work out as is there's no pool of trade goods, and I'm not going to worry about the demand pool. You can work those out as an option. But any good has letters. In any system, you can pick that good up from where it has those letters. Those letters are also going to be the minus on that good. We're okay with that. Okay. But these are the kind of planets that produce it. To sell goods, so goods don't pile up on the map or anything. They're just stacked by type. If you're at a system where you have a base and you can pick up those goods, and those goods are produced there, or can be produced there, you can pick them up. And you get them for free if they're at your own base. If you want to do it from somebody else's base, you have to give them $1 billion per good. You're buying the product from them. Whatever, you're again, I'm looking at these factions. The point is, you're not getting it for free because it's your own base or whatever. It's just that's worked in. It's a minimal cost to buy it at base. But if you buy it from someone else, it costs you $1 billion per. And I think the consortium is going to have to pay that as well. They're not going to get their bonus on purchasing. For systems that there's no base that are explored, these would have demand markers, but they never get resources. I'm going to leave that as is, which is to say, you can't just go here and buy from the neutral player, but from you know, the neutrals who are occupying that system, who will buy goods from you. But you could make an option where you pay them $1 billion to pick up the goods. You pay the bank $1 billion to pick up the goods if you want to. Where can you deliver goods? You can deliver goods to any system which does not have the ADK on it. If you deliver the goods to a system that has the +1 bonus on it, i.e. worlds that really want those goods, then you will get the price of the goods plus the distance from the nearest system that produces those. And there has to be a maximum on that because there might not be a system of that sort. I figured a 5 space maximum is a good choice. So for example, if you wanted, you know, fine art, if you wanted to deliver fine art to Earth, you could do that. And if there's nowhere that produces fine art, well, where did you get it from? I don't know. I don't know. Because you'll have to take these into account too. I don't know what those are going to relate as. Okay? Couple of things that I'm not sure about here. So for example, there is a trade goods chit in the thing that generates trade goods. So here, this creates flora production. Certainly flora would be available there if you wanted to buy it. Do you want to give a bonus to the bases that have it there? I don't know. I haven't figured it all out yet. But I'm just working out, you know, I already posted, but I forgot about these anomalies adding to the production. So and I also forgot about the chit that drops stuff on you. I might just take that chit out of the game and then tighten up the cycle, which will actually bring more wealth into the game, I think. Well, maybe not, because, you know, these trade goods are worth $1 billion each, right? So that's like, ooh, 5 or 6 billion. You know? But you don't get that much, right? You get 5 at the highest level of the game, at the latest point in the game. Okay. Getting rid of those things, though. Yeah. We have to worry then about directives. Some of the directives, it doesn't really make sense that if you delivered it, it just shows up. Oh yeah, so the thing was, yeah, how do you deliver, what happens if you deliver something, you know, that's not particularly close? I mean, there's no need for the maximum, actually. I put that 5-point maximum, it actually doesn't have a need, because you aren't able to pick up the goods except where they're produced. So you don't have to count that. Now you're going to have to do those countings separate from the Earth countings. And let's see, what do we do with the fucking anomalies? Again, it becomes a production there. I think what you'd want to do is during the production phase, give that player an extra $1 billion, or give the players with bases there an extra $1 billion. That'll make up for not getting the bonus from that resource. I'm going to probably incorporate this as soon as these deliveries are made. But if somebody wants to make another delivery or whatever, that's okay. Okay. So I told you the price. Let's look at this. I sort of told you the price. The price, if it's delivered to a world that actually wants it, like the MO in this case with the +1, that will be the base price plus the distance. The price, if you deliver it to any world that's not MO, that's not plus or minus 1, is going to be half that and rounded up, which isn't great. And the price delivered to its own system, like if I've got, so this has, I don't know how this got here. Oh yeah, this has 80K. Okay, so let's say, H would want this normally, but they don't want it because it's produced in system. And the same would go with an M or an O. M or O would not want it because it's produced in system by an AD or K. And that means you have no opportunity to sell things in the same system. That's being handled by in-system traders. There's no $1 billion for each of your trade goods, although I might just, if I leave that shit in, I'll just give you the extra money for trade goods being produced per, and that's, that's just a minor little addition of money that might be important because people run out of money. It gets rid of some of the flexibility. People won't have piles of trade goods that they can just kind of store up cash as in case they need it for trade goods or whatever. For the directives, I think what I'd go with is, and also these if they have it. Isn't there a trading one here? Not that I can remember these. Yeah, sell 3 trade goods on Earth. You would have to sell trade goods that they're at plus for, which in the case of Earth is the case anyway. Fine ore and rare materials you can sell all at the same time. You can still store and transship goods if you want to. That's fine. So some goods will still be on bases, but a lot less, so you won't have cluttered messes like this usually occurring. You have the same limits to how much you can store, but they're probably never going to make a difference. And yeah, the idea is, so to get the directive, let's see somebody who has a trade good directive. Yeah, so this guy has to, well, this is the same. So this says sell 1 rare material on Earth. That would stay the same. I'm wondering, was there another one? This is again, sell 2 trade goods on Earth. Like that. You just have to do it at once. And you can store them up at Earth and prepare yourself for it. And yeah. But the only trade goods that count would be the ones that they actually demand. Now, what does Earth want that it doesn't demand? Might make it that these are the only things Earth will take. Because Earth is a fairly large and robust system. And rare materials, and I'm assuming the ore is not just like, got some iron for you, because there's tons of fucking iron in the asteroid belt, and we aren't going to eat it all up in a couple hundred years. So I'm assuming that's something more rare, more like rare materials, to tell you the truth. And fine art, obviously, is going to be there. So Earth is going to be a special place where it only accepts these, but it takes them as if it's +1, which is pretty much, I'm not going to try to figure out what things Earth doesn't produce, right? Because all it actually produces is an M-class world. So if I were to do this the same as other planets, you could ship all kind of shit to Earth, but I'm really not sure they want it. Like, well, that's ore. They want ore. That's rare materials. They want rare materials. Wow, somebody ought to be shipping them stuff. What the fuck? What's the consortium up to? They're all over Tau Ceti for some reason. They should be going back. What the fuck are they doing? I don't know. Yeah. But that will enable trade. It'll make trade easier. There's no question about that. But I feel like the way trade is you have this sort of option between, like, if you're trying to colonize a planet, then coming back with materials makes sense. But these things should be available on these planets if you're able to produce it. Should there be production number limits? Yes. If you want to pick up goods from a base, I'm going to say on a per turn basis, because, and this speeds up the trade operation, whatever, you can only pick up a number of goods equal to the size of the base or whatever. So like a one base isn't going to allow you to pull a bunch of goods. We might tinker around with that number, but this is sort of the core of the idea that I posted. I'm going into more detail as I begin to see things that go wrong. Anyway, it's getting me excited to get to the point where I can start fiddling around with that. Like, and we'll just switch over, you know, change the rules in mid-game, whatever, because I want to see how that works. And I'm, you know, growing kind of discouraged, but the trade goods is one of the big things. The other another big thing is to start seeing these as more abstracted, more religious and philosophical bents, and less like they're a country. And I mean, they're kind of presented as religious or philosophical bents, right? And almost what you have is a divergence of like 7 different species coming from the humans, right? Now, there's probably intermingling with everyone except maybe the transhumanists, but there's sort of this, they're more comfortable, able to work with, less antagonistic, less likely to go to war, you know, not going to fight each other and whatnot. So it kind of makes some sense in that sense. Maybe a little less when it comes to tech and stuff like that, a feeling that you're directing too much. But maybe I'll come up with another idea that better represents that sort of flavor than I feel like the game really does. And it kind of makes sense with the escalations, right? You know, damn those Praetorians, they're always fighting, you know, and everybody's just negative to them. And whereas if somebody's being stomped out and destroyed, like these guys. Now, the titles, they start feeling a little weird. Like, what do they actually mean? Well, I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. They may again be that your branch of humanity is starting, you know, is acting more in a certain fashion. And, you know, these are just being seen as more beaten up. And they get that, you know, they get sort of a reputation. Of course, you don't know what you could argue about with that, like looking at human history. Like if you look at the Jews through human history, they're the ones who suffered really badly and got a name for that would be similar to this kind of title. And you could argue, well, some people do argue, that those persecutions and whatnot drove them into positions where certain abilities, etc., became more important. And to some extent, maybe, you know, there was some actual genetic selection as well, but at least there was a sociological and tradition of like, say being involved in banking, being involved in professions and stuff like that, that actually put them in a good position to have more influence. But they certainly, like, that influence hasn't been a protective thing. I mean, persecution for 2,000 years, and then it just keeps coming. Except for Holocaust deniers. Yeah, I'm just, I'm kind of fluttering these ideas around in my head as to, is just changing my mindset enough, or do I need something else? The speed, fuck it, it's a rounding error. I'm willing to live with it. We could just, say that the turns are longer than they're supposed to be, whatever. See if I can remember anything else that really bugged me. All right, sticking so long on this, but yeah. So, the draw trade goods, I think it has to be left in there, because otherwise players won't get enough. They won't get cash that they deserve. So like the consortium gets additional trade goods. They may make up for it by having bigger ships and everything, but just give them $1 billion per trade good they would produce. That takes care of the anomalies problem too, where this says +1 one flora production. During normal production, when this would be created otherwise, they'll just get an extra $1. But the system is considered to create flora. The question is that flora weird enough that they want it in the system? I say no. Again, it's something that's produced locally, so you shouldn't just be able to sell it special for that. It wouldn't make any sense. Again, it's in-system trade. So that becomes a location that produces flora just as the planetary systems do. I added those to my BGG thread, and finally, let's develop tech. It is so sparse right now that the consortium feels like they have to drop cards. Now, they do have a little bit of cash available to them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe 6 if I don't take the... Oh, no. Wait. It's the ore and the rare materials. Yeah, okay. If I don't take the 2 that I'd want. So they have like $6 available max. And I don't think... This would be 9. I don't have any of that. Engineering, I'm quite far ahead on. That's way too much. This would be 7. I could buy it. I think it's worth losing my cards for. I don't really care too much about this, although it's kind of cool. Starports I really like. But it has... I liked, but I don't anymore because it involves demand markers. And I have not figured out a way to incorporate demand markers. Should I? I don't know. We'll have to see. So he gets demand markers too. Wow. The consortium, see, I don't know if they get fucked or not though, because they have ships with heavy cargo capacity, and I think trade is going to become a lot easier under these circumstances. And they're going to be able to make more money. And I think that'll balance out them losing whatever advantages they get. Obviously, this card is still worth 5 victory points. Yeah. Otherwise, again, I could use demand markers as some kind of bonus to the normal mechanisms. But I don't like the way that works. I don't like the way the demand markers kind of create this sort of rush to get stuff there. Although it does make more sense If they're willing to buy the goods anyway, it's just there's a specific demand. But a demand for how long? For 50 years? Seriously? Wouldn't they figure out a way to get around that? You know, I mean, if you think about Nazi Germany, they managed to figure out how to make oil out of coal, basically. Not the best solution. Oil's a lot cheaper. But if you ain't got it, you got to figure something out. Demand marker bonuses, what they could be is like when you draw demand markers, draw 3 instead of 2. If you've got a bonus that involves demand markers, you could just give them $1 billion or something to help make up for it. Again, I'm getting rid of the demand markers as far as I'm concerned. Maybe not yet. We're going to see if we get to a place where I can switch over. Even with extra trade goods, I'm not going to be able to play either any of these cards or anything to hold them. I kind of like my cards again. Research vessel upgrade looks really nice. And this, draw an extra trade good. Okay, that's an extra buck, right? And can produce fine art in any system except Sol. That's weird. That becomes a really weird card under my situation. What does make sense is sell fine art for plus 1 billion, but that becomes kind of less valuable. The can produce it in any system is kind of neat. Anyway, I'm not gonna. We're gonna run into things where, oh look, it is turning into daylight. We're gonna run into things where I think these cards are gonna conflict with my trade system, unfortunately, and just gonna have to fiddle around and try to figure out things. The extra trade good is no big deal. The sell fine art. So, draw an extra trade good is easy. Produce fine art in any system. Probably have to ignore that and just go to that they sell the fine art for more. Because if they can produce it in any system, well, what's up with that? You know, like that's going to skew everything. Everybody up to the Praetorians, or through the Praetorians, kind of wanted to keep their cards but had to dump them because they just don't have the resources now. Praetorians have enough trade goods they probably could have. And they really don't need them, but maybe they didn't care that much about the cards they had. And then I get to the Syndicate, and they kind of don't really want their cards, but they really want it. The RE range, because they got to get to the CV range in order to be able to even reach here from my base. And I'm only allowed 2 bases, right? Yeah, I'm only allowed 2 bases until next century. So it's going to be hard to catch these guys, their fleet. I wish I could like violate their base and get my directive that way, but nope. Everybody felt that way. The givers kind of like this scout ships, although, you know, it's 17. Am I going to get there? I don't know. And likewise, I mean, eventually, the true path, but theirs is a little bit more appealing. They're sitting on these engine upgrades that I really like. That's 20 physics. I have 8, 9, 10. I was able to hold my physics and spend my engineering. This is the problem. This guy, I think... No, he spent bio. Okay. I was afraid he'd have to spend his physics for that. He went up to... CV4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Somebody's not in there. The transhumanists are not. And he made it to here. He picked up terraforming, so he gets to do 2 terraformings. Doesn't sound like a great thing. Like, it's kind of cool. Like, terraforming's cool or whatever, but it's kind of cool to not, like, to be able to get it without having to pay for it, but having to pay for it to get it. But this was the cheapest thing I could go for. I had to actually spend an extra $1 for it. I don't know if I have trade goods somewhere. I don't see any. But what makes sense for him is the fact that he has like 3 different bases that he's working on, right? He's going to be working here, and he's got this, and he's going to be working here. So as long as it doesn't come, even if it comes up next turn, I can try to terraform both of these. I don't remember if you can terraform an E. I don't think so. So I might be in trouble if it comes up as the next thing, but I'll be able to deliver a base here next turn. So at least there's that, and then I can start changing worlds and doing weird shit like that. And in fact, terraforming's already come up, so it's going to be a while before it happens again. That'll be end of turn. It's been a hell of a long and crazy turn because of all this fucking discussion. Oops. I have the strong suspicion that I'm going to be up here again before too long, because I'm feeling very awake. Like I said, I had 4 or 5 hours of sleep total, but like I feel pretty good right now, I guess. And my sleep schedule's so fucked up. About 9 a.m. on Wednesday, and yeah, I kind of gave up on doing anything. I found my other computer game, not Raid, this stupid like semi-porn game. Is another gacha game though, and I just found a way to do things much more quickly that I didn't realize, and I've been like hoarding energy because I never want to play it very much because it takes like 5-10 minutes to fight a battle. Well, now I can just do it with a click of a button. And it's like, oh, I can use up all this energy. Well, maybe not. But there are some nice rewards, but I can't sit there and play it for that long. This is the one I tried to get away from. So we're at 2270. This is going to be a long video with all the crap that I talked about. One nice thing about the designer is, I mean, here I am constantly harping on this, but, like the ideas I had about the escalation actually escalating, some sort of system like that, he saw that as a neat idea. So that's kind of cool, is that even though I'm like constantly just picking on things, but that's what I do, man. I pick on things. All right, let's give him his point, and that goes up to a 15. He's just hoarding them. This thing is sweet. And let's see what our activity is. And again, we're doing something weird with the trade goods, but we're on Earth production this turn. Hard to remember. One of the things is, a game like this is capturing my attention as to like things that I'd want it to do, and I think it's really, really moddable in certain ways. So like the trade goods I was able to mod. I'm not sure about the escalation rules. I got some worries there in terms of like the play balance it would create. If you could like wipe out, if you could up the escalation by picking on someone else constantly, if they don't respond militarily, I feel like the escalation shouldn't go up from sort of a reason point of view. But the bigger thing is, if you could pick on somebody and raise the escalation, and then wipe out the Earth, Like, you just get in a position where they didn't have anything outside, and now you've taken the one thing they have. But I think like a couple of players escalating the situation could eventually wipe out the Earth. Or maybe there would be some sort of scenario that, like, I don't know. Anyway, there's just all kinds of shit that you could put like some diplomatic, aspect to this game that's more structured and causes such issues. Okay. Anyway, we're at Earth production. This is really just generating the cash and tech. Numbers are going up. It's 30 billion and 233. Yeah. What we're seeing though is this kind of, I don't know. I don't remember what the word I wanted to use for it is. Not pattern, but sort of pulsing through, different states. Like, this is a point where everybody's going to have money and they can all drop, bigger ships on the Earth, and all kind of weird stuff's going to happen. But the initiative's fixed at where it was last. Like, it's sort of like there's different waves of action that occur based on this, because people, want to get the most advantage out of the resources that they can get. Now, if they're trying to hold cards, they're more conservative and they slow their creation. But there's going to be, everybody's going to have tons of tech. Everybody's got a big pile of cash coming in. So now there's a lot more that you can do, where everybody was kind of stuck without anything they could do because they had no money and their tech was running low and all kinds of problems. Handed the tech out. It's a little funny. So money, I don't know what to say about. Like, the 30 billion the Praetorians get. Look, they need ships. Money equates ships. It makes sense that they have a lot of that. But they actually have a lot of tech, too. In particular, 233 for, the engineering makes sense, but I'm not so sure with the physics. The givers, okay, they've got this terraforming and stuff. I don't know exactly, how big a deal they are about tech, although since they're about terraforming, you kind of feel like something should happen from them. Transhumanists, yeah, they get a lot of bio, and biotech's kind of neat. But they get decent tech otherwise, not as, so there's 8 tech for the Praetorians, there's only 7 for the transhumans, 7 for the consortium with a heavy reliance on engineering. But these poor starfarers, man, they have some advantages. They have a lot of ships, the largest number of bases, although they're not alone in this kind of numbering. The other people who have that kind of numbering also have low tech in terms of ships and bases. But man, if you're kind of low on money and low on tech, something better make up for it. The bases count as twice their size for extending ship range. Oof, I have forgotten something. Oh boy. So, I mean, it's not a problem right now, but I think it was. Let me look at that extending ship range. You're allowed to move where? That are in range from a base with enough settlements to build the ship, including modifiers. Oof. I don't think I've been following that. So for example, this takes 6. Okay, he could have made it here with this base, but was that base there? The Praetorians are out here. 5, yeah, I don't think they could make it out here. Yeah, their ships are way too big. They don't have a big enough base. I have been cheating, and cheating badly. And that's a big advantage that I've essentially negated by letting everyone else sail out where they want, like 3. That can't support these ships. So you really have to like ship guys to your colonies. The other side of it is rely a lot on REs. Whew. Yeah, so I mean, this game is beginning to get to the I've broken it stage at this point, because that is a major facet to have just like let slip out of my brain. Oh boy. I don't know what to do about it. Like, and I know I was aware of it at another point, but it's like, you know, everybody growing out of here and you just kind of forget about it. But then in here 4, that wouldn't allow these ships there, right? Yeah, that's an 8. But these guys would have been able to do it. I don't know what to do to fix this. I've been like, you know, my assumption was kind of as long as I got a forward base and I've got a limited number of bases, but that really makes people who build too many bases in a weak spot. Yeah. Oops. I don't know what to do. All right, let's move those number markers. The fact that everybody's been ignoring it, although it does provide potential haven for this guy, but the fact that everybody's been ignoring it kind of makes it better. I could see in an opposed game where, you know, maybe 1 or 2 players are keeping track of that and working on it really carefully, and maybe they notice that somebody else is violating that rule, but chances are they're so focused on their own stuff that they're not going to really be paying attention to, is someone cheating accidentally or whatever, you know. This is one of those, let's muddle through as best as we can and try to comply with the rules eventually. I don't know when it's going to happen, you know, but try to get in compliance. But I don't really feel like this guy should have to withdraw from these planets necessarily. That might be too big a harsh move. I don't know. This is a 6. If we put this back here and gave him a 4 here, doesn't fix his issue, but it makes it a little bit better. A little bit better. I just don't know. Likewise, this, if I went without this and put a 5 here, it still doesn't fix it, but it makes it a little bit better. So I'm gonna work within that. Oh, some of these may have range 2. So the Praetorians actually are at range 2 at this point. So they could have gotten to where they wanted. The Greens could have gotten to where they wanted. This, I think, was at a 1. Maybe, you know, maybe. So that range 2 is a big deal. These guys would have cheated. Or maybe I just, nah, let's fix that. Yeah. So these guys are the only ones that are not in compliance right now. And they definitely, you know, could not have done anything about it except not violate the rules. These guys might have violated the rules by, this movement was recent. This movement was not, and I feel like these guys may have violated, or almost certainly violated the rules, because I don't think they were one of the earliest out here. But I'm not sure anymore. Got this guy, he's 6 billion back for his escalations. I gotta take off him. Otherwise, we're seeing significant ships being built. The Starfarers, they're gonna be able to carry a couple of colonists on here and an entertainment ship. Can't just put them out there, because that happens during the cargo loading, and I don't want to make I want to try to play by the rules, except where I'm consciously breaking them. Definitely painful, though, to pay for ships and then do combat, then pay for cargo. It definitely skews with my capability of planning my moves. Size of the fleets that are being, or of the individual ships that are being built on Earth are convincing the Syndicate that they don't want to build their ship, they could build this. But if they wait for those big ships to go away, it'll be fine. All three of the latter players felt like their fleets that they would be able to deploy are too weak at this point. They had to give a pass on that. So now we go to potential combat. Obviously, there's plenty of options here. And he might take it if one of these, if this guy is actually still the largest guy. Nobody knows what his directive is, but he's like, yeah. All the things that are here are all the influence things. This was again pointed out by the designer. I don't know where I found all these. I was looking for the 1 billion in cash because I thought that had been the case, and I couldn't find it in the rules, but if it's here, that's good enough. But yeah, we have how you get influence, and fulfilling a directive is an influence. Interesting. Last survey of a system, I knew that. Selling a trade good off Earth. Didn't know that one. Okay. Most of these I remembered, and I might have looked up, but that's a helpful cheat sheet. I wonder where, so where is this one? You can spend IPs. Well, where does it tell me that? I'm at escalation and influence. It does not tell me there. I wonder where it tells me. I mean, obviously it tells me here on the player aid, but the real question is, it's got to say in the rules somewhere too. Right? And I don't know where that would be. Most of these things are in the rules somewhere. Hey, it's in the player's guide. Which one is supposed to read? Influence points. There we go. All right. Unfortunately, it doesn't actually say in the rules, and I tend to look in the rules for that. But yeah, that's sort of part of the rules in the sense that that's like the first few pages of the rules are the pictures telling you what each thing is and what you can do with it. All right, well, influence points can be turned into money then. But I don't think that's a good deal. 2 tech points seems a lot better than $1 billion to me. And yet, I'm also hoarding these. Trade goods, on the other hand, you can change for money, and that's fine. But yeah, I couldn't find that in here, and that I see why now. Okay. Oh, where the hell am I? Yeah, so this guy is indeed going to attack because I checked him, and he has the most settlements. So let's go to combat. It's going to be fleet combat. Well, that may not be the first one. See, this is the whole thing. Do you want to mess with these other people, right? Like, I've got a warship here. Do I want to fuck around with anyone? No. I could attack a settlement by a planetary assault. And then the settlement gets to defend itself. I mean, I'd have 5 defense. What's the settlement's defense? 1/10 of the size of the enemy settlements, which would round up to a +1. What would I hit with a 5? I could do a lot of damage. Oh, I was going to convert that to... I just don't feel like being particularly warlike. Although this guy has lots of escalation counters, in a way I'm playing into his hands if I fight him. So I think the only thing we're going to do is this attack here. Well, let's look at order. Yellow, green, red didn't have any that he wanted to do. And that puts me to purple, who is going to launch the attack. And that's going to be an 8 versus a 7. Let me just check him, see if he has anything. Yes, I took that into account. Okay. And then over here, his is complicated. He has a +1 to combat. We did these. I thought he had a -1 to combat too, but I guess he doesn't anymore. And he doesn't have the admiral or anything like that. This is for the initiative. I've got that separate just to make things annoying. We'll use red for the Praetorians and gray for the poor consortium. Okay. Combat value of 7 with a 4 means he does 2 hits. Okay. There's not really a lot of choice. It goes on this, so we don't have to go through the mechanisms. And then the 8 at +1 does 7 to 8, and I had a 7. He does 3 hits. That's not going to break that ship. It does make it so that it can't attack and badly weakens it, but these are bigger ships now. Okay. Now, escalation. It's a combat. The attack was in Seoul, so it's going to be 3 points. So 3 IP for him. And he gets 3 more yummy escalation shits. Okay. -2 to combat rolls. Wow, that's not a good one. They're getting overconfident. Migration chance -20. That brings them to a -50. And settlements cost another billion on Earth. Ooh, I was not counting that. Oh wait, I took 6 off. It should have only been 3. These are all settlement costs. So I get 3 billion back. It's an eyesight issue. And I play my directive. I have initiated fleet combat against the player with the most settlements other than me. So I get this. I get an IP for getting that. Now that I paid attention to yet another note. And I get to draw a new directive. This is an anomaly or combat directive, so it counts towards the 4 I need to get. And now, I think when I'm out, yep, I draw 2, I pick 1. I think. Earn 1 IP and reveal it. Yeah, draw 2, count 1. Okay, so earn 4 billion using mining ships. Whew. I don't have any mining ships on the board yet. I do have one that I could build, so that's not out of the question. And sell a fine art on Earth. Whew. Well, I don't have any fine art. So by the current rules, oh, maybe I do. By the current rules, I wouldn't be able to do this. Does anyone have a fine art so I can look and see if the future rules help? There's one. So they're produced at OJs. Right now my base is at a PK and at a J. So I will be able to produce fine art. I am going to grab this one with the thought of the rules are going to change. Plus, I may draw one anyway, you know, but whatever. We did drop off here to build a base. This guy now would have to be buying his settlement at this point. It costs him 6 plus 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to cost me 10 billion to build a settlement because I've made people so unhappy. But I'm going to get to ditch a lot of these. Would it make more sense? Well, if I had ore, I could deliver that. Medicine, I'm not going to be able to get there. Kind of maybe just want to sit around and repair cheaper. Although I can repair this ship here relatively cheaply as well. It sure is ugly. I've succeeded at my goal, so I no longer have to go chasing him. At least there's that. Whew. Kind of don't want to spend 10 billion on a fucking settlement. How many of these? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think I'll be able to get rid of 6 of them then. Draw 1 less trade good. That's the way I'm going to do trade. That's just going to be a minus 1 billion during the trade section. Oh, I don't know. Like, I really need to build up my trading or my settlements, but this is not really the best time for it. Oh, hey, what's up? Other than the warlord. I don't think anybody's hit a 10 science yet. I hope not. I think that was the big one. I don't think I'm going to buy. I think it's just too expensive for me. But he needs to. I have enough that if I threw trade goods in, I could build a 3-point settlement. But I think I want to build a 2-point settlement, and there was somewhere I wanted to go because I have an entertainment. This was my plan, at least. And again, you know, I'm fucking with playing double, you know, sort of playing both trade rules at once. But this is the direction I want to go in, because I need to survey Vega if I'm correct. Yeah. And how do I remember? My CV range, I need to get that built up. But I was planning on landing here at Lumen. Okay. So that's him. He doesn't have any other transport capability. Let me look at others. Yeah, we got another one. So here, we might deploy this base, but the first thing we do is we deliver the medicine. And by the standard rules for the game, I would get 4 plus 1 because it's got a P, minus 1 for the ML, so I get 4, plus 1 for distance is 5, and that is going to that gives me an IP, because it's not on Earth. Delivering not on Earth gives an IP. That's going to eat this, which means a new one is going to show up there temporarily until I stop playing with those rules. And what else? Trying to think what else. Wow, you could scoop up your base in this phase so that you could do mining or something like that, and then deploy it on another turn before you move away. Wow, you can do some really weird shit in this game. That's the thing. I could have ships that are kind of stranded out there, like that we're relying on that base to get somewhere, because it's only when you declare your movement that you have to have the appropriate base, right? Oi, oi, oi. I draw a fauna and a machinery. I'm going to choose machinery. Now my plan was to take these somewhere else, but screw that, man. Right? I think. These are 4 each. H and K, I get no plus. M and L, I get a minus. They're 3 each. That gets me 9 more bucks. What did I get? Sorry, 10 more. Sorry, they're 3 each. So 4 bucks each. So 12. 3 more IP. This is just weird. And it's why I got to get rid of. It's why I don't like the trade rules. I mean, you're seeing an example of it right here. I am allowed to sell all 3 because of the machinery here. So that's 12. I did not take the 6 or whatever I had before, so I'm owed 18 bucks. 2 more, fauna and ore. We're going to want to look these up. Fauna, LH and M is a penalty. Not so good. I'm guessing ore is better because Earth wants ore. I only have beverages there and I don't really care. So I'll put that down. We made a shit ton of money. And do I want to deploy this base? The answer is yeah. Oh, well, the answer would be no if I could scoop everyone up, but I think the answer is yes for the simple fact that I may want to pick it up and take it somewhere else later. But if next turn the base growth happens, which it can't, so it kind of doesn't matter. If next turn the base growth were to happen, I would want them deployed already. If I could scoop everyone up, though, I would want to do that. Of course, I wouldn't want to leave, I wouldn't want to lose those necessarily, but I might just cash them in for a couple of bucks. And then I could do mining with that ship, but I can't do mining with it now. Uh-oh, battery's dead. I really like gaming mechanisms like that, but if base production came up, I might lose out playing around with something like that, right? Because my base production would be I don't remember. I get to pick one world stuff, which might be better than my mining value. Anyway, I can exchange this for a 7 to keep clutter down. Sadly for the consortium, they haven't found anything here. So there's not much they could do. If I had food here, I could sell it. Okay. That's going to put us to movement. Boop, boop, boop. And this is kind of a waste. This is like colonizing areas that you haven't explored yet. Now, I was hoping to have found something by the time I got there. But, now I'm just like sitting there with my colonists on board. The thing I didn't do. This guy doesn't get smaller. His cargo hold doesn't get smaller, which means that I could buy for 5 billion a single crew member, which was what my plan was, and then move him. And again, I'm kind of violating the order here, but that's simply a matter of I forgot I had a ship there, really, until I started looking for movement and said, oh, I do. Gets me out of the danger of Sol with my badly damaged ship, and I have 2 billion. I can repair the ship here because I have a 7 factor, so I can do 7 points worth of construction work. It only takes 3 to recover that ship. Or I could repair it for 6 while it's in flight if something dangerous is happening. Or I could pay 9. No, I'm only allowed to repair 1 per turn, or all of them. All right. The Starfarers are heading here, and that's kind of problematic because somebody's going to beat them there with the entertainment shit. Now, another entertainment shit could show up. I don't know. Is this a place where entertainment would be sellable under normal rules? Yes, because it has a K. So if I go to under modified rules, if I go to under my modified rules, we'll be able to sell that anyway, maybe for different amounts of money. But getting to the Praetorians, they have this ship, which I think is going to stay at Earth so it can repair and be a real dick to people, which means they have nowhere to move. Allows me, if I get the counter, the initiative and discard escalation counter, that'll allow me to then build a settlement and move it there, move it somewhere, or maybe move some of these goods somewhere if there's anywhere. There's some place that wants food over here. I don't have any ships there, but that's okay. And that'll get us to the exploration side of things. Somebody's on my roof. Wonderful Pollard marker, what have you done? I dropped a die accidentally on the table, trying to roll it over here, and it knocked the marker off this. I don't know. Where did he come from? How long ago? What's his speed? Try to guess where he should be. His speed should have been 4. He did not just leave this turn, so I'm going to put it on 3. I think that's probably right, but it might not be. Successful explorations. None of them found anything. The danger of a colony being out there. At least they got lots of tech. Kinds of exciting stuff happened here. I got my biology success. That was the last marker there. That doesn't give me anything special, I think. No. I've got a base there, but now there's a no base thing there, and it takes 7 tech to find it. These 2 players could work together and split the reward or whatever. It's 3 biology markers, and it will create greater base settlement during production, actually. Pretty exciting. I am owed 2 IPs, one for completing the last survey, one for finding that. Now I have lots of points, but I don't think there's anything that I can buy. And I think that system is done. Keep moving. I'm tired. I'm going to stop before I do the develop tech. Probably even go to sleep. So yeah, we got a little bit of findings. I don't know. It's hard to remember where. That was found already. There's no, I think. Maybe I lost something. Here, well, there was damage. A couple of places where damage occurred. I know an RE died. That was up here. That was successful. But yeah, more tech markers going out. This is going to be a big possible turn for tech. That's why I want to rest, because I just don't think I'm up for it. I'm too tired. Too tired, and my back hurts and all kind of stuff. All right, it's it's after 4 p.m., which means it's raid soon. But it's not that far after. When I take these little naps and little sleeps, I end up very kind of punch drunk, because I come up here more quickly than I would from a longer sleep. Because there's less to do on raid or whatever. I honestly don't know. My tobacco showed up, which I was worried about. Before I get to the text, the cards. So I have this weird shuffling method, right, that involves shuffle the cards, then roll dice for them because they're small decks. Another option is one person shuffles and then pass it, and another person shuffles the same deck. The reason you kind of need to do this is because they're such small decks, or that I think you need to do it, is they're such small decks that I don't trust any one person not to, like, this isn't a matter of, like, consciously doing it, but not to kind of know or something how they're shuffling such a small deck. It's so easy to, like, kind of have a certain routine or whatever, so that, like, they'll always end up stacked in the same order as if you hand them to a given player. Okay, let's talk about techs. Everybody was relatively conservative, even though they have tons and tons of points. Although this guy he has the points for it. Thought about buying his fast ships, but he's the make all ships fast bonus. But I don't know. It might have been a good idea. Instead, And he might still do it, because I don't know. Does he care about his other cards? Is kind of the question. He did one thing, but this fleet upgrade for 20. I have 9, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Let's buy it. All his non-fast ships now count as fast. This only matters on the turn that you declare your movement. Again, a reason why you don't want to declare your movement all at once. He just had a shit ton of that, and that will get him another fleet card. I'm not going to be able to reach a fleet 2 card anytime soon. They're very high cost, so I'll grab a fleet 1. Assuming he has fleet 2 capability. He does. Okay. But he also, and this is the first guy, but the guy who went last, he also picked up Terraforming for cheap. Because, oh, he doesn't care about that. Screw that. Give me a chance to keep cards. Give me a chance to keep cards. Yeah, let's just keep this. It may not have been a 5 chit, but I don't know. He was going to pick up Terraforming for cheap because I thought the counter wasn't out. But since it's out already, screw it. It's not worth picking up right now. Okay, let's look at some of the others. We've got an IP going over here for somebody, for the givers, who are the first getting into the improved genetic manipulation, which is going to allow them to actually buy level 2 genetic cards. Over here we have 2 more people getting the first, here, a cheap thing that they could get an IP off of. Why not? A couple of catch-ups here. The Syndicate has moved into here. Blue finally moved into here, giving them unlimited RE range. And very useful because I want to get to Vega and get my directive completed. Same thing here. The transhumanists moved into here, which gives them CV4. I haven't pulled those out, so I don't know what they look like yet. And that's about it, I guess. So I got 3 IPs to hand out. I've got the CV4s. Those tech purchases took a lot less time than I thought they would. And I went and did a little tiny chore. But it's still 20 minutes to raid. I figure let's get partway into a turn, especially since I left the window up here open. I don't like to leave it open, especially when it's... Rain doesn't come in here, but, you know, I got all my games, or some of my games there. Let's see what we draw. Roll initiative and discard escalation. Finally. Big deal for him. He kind of would have liked to have gotten more escalation. He's going to lose some stuff. But initiative, he's got all kind of complexities because this cancels that out. Let's see, how am I going to do this? I did it on the decades chart with maybe like a number counter on top or something. Okay. As I remember from last time, some people might want to pay. The cost for initiative is, it's like an IP for a 10%, I think. It's a high cost. It's a really high cost. I don't think anybody's in a position where they feel they actually need it. Yeah, 20% per IP. See, what it means is, if you have first initiative, for the next at least 3 turns, and maybe 9, or 8, no, for the next 2 turns, but it could be as much as, so there's 7 of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It could be as much as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. Okay. Well, you got to count this turn in too. So for the next 3, or no, I can't think. Or I guess 7. Anywhere from 3 to 7. You're gonna have the opportunity to pick last as to building ships and be able to see what other people do, be able to pick movement and everything. It's a really powerful option. Now, I am guessing that you have to make the initiative expenditure. So the real question is, how does this actually operate? Players declare IPs to spend. I feel like that should be, when you say declare that way, that should be simultaneous. And that's the big deal. Because if it happened with the roll, and then all players roll percentiles. I think that's pretty clear. Declare could be done in initiative order, if that's desirable. I don't see any advantage to that, although maybe for solo, for some people it would be some kind of edge. So I have to think real hard if there's anybody who wants that big advantage. It's been really useful, right? It might help the Starfarers avoid problems. Although they flew back into their problem. It might help people who want to hunt, particularly perhaps the Praetorians. Although their current directive is to sell fine art. They're less interested. Let me look at directives, think if anybody feels a real desire for it. Probably roll a die for a couple of players and see if they get a bonus. I haven't made my decisions yet, but I do have to say, my modified trade goods are going to cause a real problem where trade directives become too easy. If all you have to do is deliver goods to Earth, sure, they're not stuff you can produce in Earth, but you're going to be able to produce it, and you're not going to have to draw the chits that go to Earth or whatever. How well has that drawing gone? Like, he has an ore and a rare materials. If that's what he wishes to do, and I think it actually is. No, he needs a survey. The transhumanists have it. It's going to make it relatively easy to deliver 2 materials to Earth. As compared to, hey, you can just pick them up. Like, no, as compared to having to draw them. Hey, you can just pick them up from any location that produces that stuff. That's going to make those directives really, really easy, which is something of an unfair advantage for the consortium, especially, who I think is the only one who's really into trade, right? Production or trade, combat or trade for the syndicate. Hey, I didn't realize that. It is definitely going to impact the directives in a way that I don't know how to fix. It may be that that my system is actually incompatible with the directives. I don't know. I haven't committed to it yet. Like, I'm still playing the core system. I mean, you could increase it, like double the amount that you have to deliver or something like that, as a way to make them more difficult. Because these directives are hard to do, right? They shouldn't just be, I just need to make a couple of runs. Although that, could take you a fair amount of time early in the game. But eventually they're going to be really, really easy to do trade directives. And that does not feel fair. Anyway, he chose to buy. So this is our new ordering. Yellow is still in a pretty early space. Dangerously, the Praetorians are in third. However, again, they're not as focused on combat as they were recently. Now, see, the thing is, I really want to test out my system, but it's like, I don't know. Reset initiative, and then after rolling initiative, they discard half their escalation markers. All right. He's got hard choices here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. He has to get rid of 6 of them. Well, expensive settlements is terrible. So that's 3. These I want to keep. Don't really mind this. This I can live with. This I can live with. Got to get rid of 3. I got to sell fine art on Earth. See that? Like, that's going to be really, really hard. But this guy has fine art. It is only produced on OJs. And now I have a J, so I would be able to produce fine art, but I'd have to draw it. Of course, it's hard to tell because nobody really. The only people who've been able to keep it are those who have OJ on their bases. And if we look around, that really isn't many. This isn't based yet. I'm looking what's near. Yeah, this is the only place that's been able to produce. And yeah, one person has pulled one. I'm sure I will get it eventually. But instead, I would be able to pick it up automatically and just solve that directive. And that feels unreasonable. So I don't know. And even if I have to pick up 2, all I have to do is send a heavier ship to go get those 2. You know? It becomes a really, really easy directive to get. And for victory points, it's worth a lot. It's worth 4. Yeah. I think my trade system is incompatible with the directives, and therefore I may not play it. So anyway, I'm at 3 others. Given my trade system, I have to drop that. And I think I'll take the 2 migration ones with it. So that's 6 more bad ones going into the cup. Now, what's interesting about that is, yeah, next time I lose 3 more bad, but I'm going to have to do some bad stuff at some point to keep all those victory points that I have. Over here, I also have choices. I have 4. 2 are victory points. 1's bad. I'll get rid of the bad one. No problem. Okay. That's fine. But then I have to get rid of another one. And here's the thing. Unless I can keep my escalation up, I think I'd rather keep the production rather than the victory points. Because the victory points mean nothing until the end of the game. They're not something that produces. Whereas the production, by its very name. All right, so that's the end of the beginning of the turn. And, you know, it sucks. I felt like I had such a cool idea with that trade system thing. But again, I would have to get rid of a part of the game that I think is kind of cool, which is the directives, or change it significantly. And I don't know what the changing significantly could be. I almost feel like I need to draw. Let me take a look at what the proportions of goods would be. This is what was in the pool. Now that's not an absolute count because I've got some kicking around, particularly stuff that is generated in ML planets, right? Because we've got, you know, a lot of people collecting shit up at Earth. Plus I've got some stuff kicking around here. Notably though, fine arts does not seem to be terribly rare. I actually thought it would be. What does seem rare is entertainment. I don't know how big a deal that is. It's not particularly expensive. It's not desired at Earth, so there probably aren't trade counters that say bring entertainment to a place. There might be something that says sell entertainment somewhere. But they're desirable only at KD, which we're not seeing a terribly large number of those. I'm not too disturbed by anything of that nature. The thing that I'm worried about is something like that fine art counter, that could be particularly hard to get, that he might have to work a lot to draw one. But remember, he's going to be drawing, because he got rid of his stupid thing, he's going to be drawing 3 trade goods each time that comes up. The other thing is, if anything is directly, and I don't know because I don't have any such, if anything says trade, you know, say entertainment anywhere, well, that's a particularly hard thing to do because not only do you have to have the material, but you have to, somebody has to have drawn the entertainment demand in a place. But they don't have to have the right planets. So there's kind of a difference there. It's really the production. Like, I'm not thrilled with the demand counters. They're what don't work for me in a lot of ways. And then the actual goods making a mess all over the board is also not pleasing. I don't know. You know, does this make the consortium just too powerful in terms of being able to score directives? And the Praetorians were the other ones who wanted to do that. I just don't know. It's definitely a more valuable thing, so I'm thinking I would increase the cost by doubling the amount that you have to actually deliver for it to work. The syndicate won't trade as well. Yeah, the two fighting people. Oh no, the Praetorians don't want it. It's the syndicate who wants it. Yeah, I don't know. Part of me kind of wants to play with the new system and just say, look, you know, it's not going to be a balanced game at this point. But I think by doubling the cost of it, I make it a little bit harder. Although, you know, if your directive is sell a fine art and I sell 2, it's almost as easy to sell 2 as 1 under that system. 2 trade goods to Earth goes up to 4. That does become harder. That definitely becomes harder. And I don't know if that's particularly hard. Maybe I'll just leave the directives alone and just say, you know what, the ones that are specific, they just make the consortium's life a little easier if he gets them. does end up playing with the balance that the directives have, and I don't know what to do about that. Let me reduce the transfer markers, and then I'll stop at build and repair ships until I take my next break. Well, until I come back up here, because I may take a break and sleep. I'm feeling tired again. I'm getting used to turning the little combat counters, but or movement counters. But where there's a stack of crap underneath the counter, it's really easy to fuck around and grab too many and drop stuff and everything. Ended up trying to flip this planet and make it not terraformed anymore. I think it was terraformed. I'm not sure. Only, like, it flipped over. But I'm pretty sure I terraformed 2 planets, and that would be this one, and then this is the only other one that I see that's terraformed. Okay, whatever. Worst comes to worst, the planet got better somehow. But yeah, dealing with these, and you know, someone came up with the idea of, hey, you could just use colored dice on top of them. That way, the colored dice would help, I guess, in identifying who's under it, but not really. Like, I don't think I have enough. Like, I don't think I have enough colored dice to do 7 different factions and match their colors. And even if I could, their colors are close enough together that I'm not sure that my eyes would have as easy a time. Like, I would end up using the same colored dice on the same faction, so it wouldn't really serve as like a flag indicator, just because my OCD would insist on that. But I could see where you could distinguish between nations that have similar colors by using different colored dice on them. I think the mechanical aspects of dealing with dice would actually be worse than the Pollard counters. We had some arrivals, not many. But here is sort of the dangerous place. This guy has a damaged ship. This guy has a damaged ship. He's not so sure he wants to attack anyone. He stuck around there, perhaps as a threat, but mainly because he wanted to repair for cheap. And, you know, then, and perhaps build settlements at normal price instead of, I don't know what it was going to be. It was going to be like $12 for a settlement, which 10 or 12 bucks, it just felt ridiculous to do. Looking to see if there's any other really ugly places. But obviously these guys are going to repair their ships. This is not a very big ship. It might be worth plinking at. Try to keep my victory points. I don't know. I put a lot of bad stuff in there. Oh, I have a -2 to my combat rolls too. Whoops. All right, we'll pause that. Well, here it is. I think it's Thursday. Must be relatively late. I don't know. There's a power outage. That's what we're seeing out there. Is a couple of guys putting a wire back up. It's too dark to play, and obviously I can't do anything else. So I don't know. I mean, I'll curl up and read or something. But I just woke up and very confusing. There wasn't a lot going on that could cause an outage. So I don't know what's up. There's a little bit of wind outside. I mean, I'm guessing it got a little windier than it did and took the line down. Guys are gone from the pole. They're still down there flashing their lights. I decided, I don't know how long this is going to take, because given that they're done with that pole and it didn't come on, And it's getting to be dark and whatnot. So I got a little fire going. And at least I'll be able to heat up tea. And it's not actually cold in here. Like I don't need, I could have done with a much smaller thing. Like I should get a sterno or something for days like this. I don't know. Power came back on. You know, it was less than an hour that I was awake that it took them. But I was just so worried because it's getting dark. And I know I want tea and maybe something warm to eat. This is the first fire in over a year that I've had. And there's no reason for it at all. Like, it didn't get very cold today, this year, to tell you the truth. You know, there were definitely days when if I didn't have electricity, I would have wanted fire. This is not one of them. Other than the fact that, like, you know, I got my tea set up and everything to warm up, and, well, there we go. Nothing too exciting, I guess. I don't know what time it is, but I can tell by the lightness that it's well past raid time. Yeah, this has been a real struggle for me this past few days. Here it is, a rainy Sunday. I don't even know if I mentioned, but some point, Wednesday, Thursday, somewhere in there, my email got hacked, and I had to update a lot. I had to spend basically several hours fighting to get it back. And I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't been able to. I mean, you know, it was like trying to close bank accounts and stuff like that, or at least seal them off. And then I went dancing on Friday, whatever, the normal, but, and everything is settled on the email, and my finances are all secured. But then when I got back from dancing, sometime yesterday, I found out my dad's in much worse shape. And anyway, I have been diverting myself, played a fair amount of raid, but I can't sleep. Like, I'm just too troubled. So I'm going to see what I can do here. I don't know what shape I'm in. I think I'm on the reduced transfer markers. I don't think I did that yet. And then builds, and we'll see what else I might do. I'm mentally not in good shape, though. So, dangerous situations, right? I could build a warship here, you know, or something that had military capabilities. I have plenty of cash on hand, but I built a big one already. My other CV5 is more of a transport ship, and I do not really feel like it's necessarily safe. I guess I could look at other people's ships. I have to make first choice, though, here on building. I could build an RE. I have one slot only available, though. And at this point, it feels like I need actual ships moving. The RE... By the way, my little trade system, apparently the designer said, yeah, their initial trade system was actually similar to that in some ways. But also notes that, yeah, trade is not terribly valuable early in the game, and it's kind of a niche thing later in the game even. Okay. I mean, interstellar trade is a pretty iffy thing to begin with, and I've given arguments for that. which may be kind of the reasoning behind it, but I just find this too cumbersome for what it does. I would rather be so here's the thing, transporting some materials might be of value, and if ships aren't going to be dismantled, if you're going to keep flying them back and forth to bring more colonial more colonists and more tools and whatever to planets, well, it only makes sense to ship something back that might be of some value. Even if that journey is a net negative in terms of value, it still does make sense. And that's what I'm trying to capture, is some kind of... Now, you can always ship interesting stuff to Earth. And the idea may be, look, if it's not interesting enough, fast ships can go faster, whatever. I don't know. Anyway, let me look at the other ships, see if anybody has anything significantly bigger than this. I'm worried though. So this thing just came in. This can get repaired. Yeah, I'm not going to build. It's too dangerous. To keep in mind, although the ships that I want to build are too expensive, the colonies can build ships too. Syndicate was the next option, and they have a couple of interesting factors. First of all, they had a damaged ship here. I had two options with this ship. Well, I have several options. I repaired it for $1. I ended up repairing it and building another ship with the intention of, look, now I have enough strength to face this. It is possible that this guy could build another ship, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's got room for, I think, one more ship. I'd have to search a little bit more carefully. And I really don't know what he's up to, because, he's got a number of escalation counters. He might be going for a warlord, but he's had the points for it and didn't buy it, so I don't know. Anyway, if he wants to draw more to go after two big ships, or two combat capable ships, neither one's huge, so be it. But another option would have been, just repairing this ship would be asking for it. But another option would be, I could dismantle the ship and have gotten $4 back. But I had enough money to protect it, so that's what I went with. I actually may even have room for another ship. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I actually have room for yet another ship. And I have money. But I mean, I could see, the thing is, I need the money for the settlements as well. So right now that's $12 in settlements. My CVs can take an extra damage. This ship I could have repaired for $3, but I see no point to. It's a CV3, which I believe means it can take two damage and survive. Plus his can take an extra damage. So I'm gonna keep exploring with him. If I collect another damage, then I repair for half cost, which is only $4, and it would cost me $3 to repair him out there in the middle of nowhere. Another facet that could be kept in mind, maybe this was cheaper than I thought. No, I still didn't have enough. Another facet that can be kept in mind is, hey look, if the Praetorians attack somebody, all these players get a chance to attack back on their turn. One more thing. I came up with, or realize, a way that I can mark who attacked who. I was going to use flags for kind of deals and whatnot, but I can just use flags for, you were attacked by this player last turn, and thereby managed to stay within the rules with that. Again, be helpful to have a little hint of that. Usually I'm pretty good at figuring stuff like that out, but it did not cross my mind. Only the givers felt themselves hampered in building ships. Everyone else just said, screw it, we're building up big fleets, and you know what, if the Praetorians attack us, let's just start working to wipe them out. You know, whatever. That's going to put us to combat. I will look and think. I don't think the Praetorians are going to launch an attack. I don't think anybody else particularly wants to. But people are paying a high cost to put a warship in Earth orbit. And here's another thing. So, like, there's a decent warship here trying to protect this ship that arrived. I assume it arrived. This ship could leave and this one could stay and hold Earth open. Kind of feels like a Gal Trader thing there. Hold Earth open so that I could keep building ships. Now, I don't really want to. I'm allowed 6 ships, and I think I've only got 5 built. But I don't see a big hauler that I'm planning on building. I can always build an RE or something for my extra one if I want to. Right now I want to build settlements though. Combats that are available on Earth are on Earth, and everyone's going to pass until we get to the Syndicate. The Syndicate has a peculiar desire to have a war. I don't think there's anything we really want to launch an attack on, though. So I think we'll pass there as well. So yeah, everybody's just going to pass on that. And that'll put me to cargo transfer and trade. I think I can do movement at the same time. I know I was doing the cargo transfer, building the settlers during the build and repair, because it was easier to deal with the money. I felt like this situation too complicated to cope with that. But now I'm beginning to feel like, you know, I should do that in order, but I think there's nothing that really hurts me too much in doing movement at the same time. Something a little weird here. I'm going to transition to towards the new trade system I want to do. And, you know, I'm like half playing one, half playing the other. I'm going to grab rare materials, which can be produced at A's. I don't have any there. I don't have any trade goods at all. And I'm going to be sending them back to Earth. I've got a slow ship. Here's the thing. By the time that ship arrives, I may completely switch over to the other trade system. I just really don't like this trade system, but I need to allow people a chance to take advantage of the stuff that's present. I'm working through everyone, but you know, the decisions become different. So I'm sending my probe, the Prosperity, out here to Epsilon Eridani, but that's not safe. There's an enemy military ship. So I shifted one from Tau Ceti down to here as well. Am I allowed to? Oh, that's the big question. Yes, my CV range is 2 for them. Not everyone has it. Oh yeah. You know, one person does not. And that would be the Starfarers. I'm reversing my situation here. I had allowed him to pick something up. I don't think he should be allowed to pick it up. I think you still would have to produce it. Those chits are still going to be in play and only come out during the trade goods production. Otherwise, they don't make a lot of sense. By doing it that way, I make most of the issues surrounding the directives a little less concerning. I don't know. I mean, you know, part of the plan was to not have piles of goods sitting at locations, but goods allow you, oh boy. See, goods allow you to So the idea is, okay, look, the external planets should just be able to produce stuff, right? But the goods allow you to maybe make a claim that, look, there's something particularly interesting here that would be of interest to other planets, rather than just, this is just stuff that I'm sending. And that's kind of what I like about it. The demands, I don't know. Maybe I'll just stick with the original trade system and not try to tinker around. Anyway, I'm definitely reversing my decision right now. I'm too tired to really think this out. And I don't think it's reasonable that you just be able to pick up goods wherever the hell you like. That's feeling, but maybe that's what I end up deciding on later. I don't know. Where the demand shit's really pissed me off is like, hey, I could send a couple entertainment to here, but now I have to pay attention. Who else has stuff? This guy's shipping entertainment due in 1 turn. This guy's shipping entertainment due in 2 turns. This guy's going to get there. He's going to clear this out. This guy's not going to be able to deliver. Is that okay? I don't know. I'm not really sure that it should like just languish until a chit gets picked. I'm going to have to pause there. I'll be at the exploration step. I'm just too tired to play. I really... Maybe I can get a couple hours of napping. I've been able... Like, I just spent like an hour and a half with a video on. I spent a couple hours with another video on where I kind of napped, but this other one I spent like an hour and a half and couldn't fall asleep at all. It's like, it's not like my mind is whirring or anything when the video's on. It's just, somehow I just can't sleep. It's a little past midnight on Monday morning. I guess I slept some, another hour or so while a video was playing, and then I woke up at the end of it. All right, on to exploration. First system I do exploration, boy, do we hit the big stuff right away. Ooh, I gotta get an IP. One kind of nice thing about being away is that I know I can't remember anything, so I have to look over, the entire portfolio of each player. But I also have to kind of try to remember the rules again. But yeah, we not only got the planet, but we got an anomaly. In this case, an alien sentinel. It's 15 combat power to wipe out. It prevents everything. It's worth 8 IP, which is huge. And that should be enough. Like, there's a big one, right? No, it's a science anomaly, not a combat one. Pity. This will get +1 engineering marker production. Okay. Not that big a bonus, but it's a big bonus for the solver. And that makes sense in that, I mean, it's okay, right? Like, you don't want these to be completely unbalancing. It's okay if they create a valuable area, a particular system that's more valuable than others. But you don't want it to be ridiculous, but the bonus comes with solving it. And that makes sense because that's the hard part. Going on in Raid right now, probably complicated systems exploration is enough that I should run down and do it. Instead, I'm going to run down each column. A couple of things. One, physically, I feel horrible. Like, my gut is hurting, my chest is hurting, all kind of stuff like that. But this guy is sailing into here. That doesn't make sense because he can't land bases. He has passengers on board. Can't land bases there. There is no exploration left. And I don't have the points to overcome that, I think. Maybe I'll have a card or something that allows me that. Nope. Although, there are things that will allow me to up my exploration value. RE exploration. I don't see it immediately. It's hard to tell, and maybe I'm mistaken. There's certainly oh, here, CV exploration bonus. Probably, yeah, I had to keep that in mind. Because then I could resolve this. But even if I don't resolve it, it's on the way to where I want to go. It's kind of the thing. And I would rather try to get my CV movement modifier up. So I might as well make a stop, which I don't know. I don't know if it makes sense or not. Like, so much of travel, interstellar travel, has to do with reaching speed, right? And it has to do with the acceleration your ships have. And the calculations are based as if you kind of reach speed pretty quickly. And that really doesn't make sense because there's basically no limit other than the speed of light. And even that, there's a relativity factor to it. But there's essentially, at this point, no limit to how fast the ships could conceivably go. It's that the longer the trip, the faster that they go on average across the trip. Because the limitation is going to be the acceleration factor more than anything else. Although, you might make an argument that, like, ooh, a tiny particle would destroy the ship if it's going that fast. So you had better not exceed a certain speed limit. But I don't think that's likely a factor here. Although certainly as you get to much higher, once you start getting close to light speed, who knows? Another example where I can't do anything. There's no missions to resolve. I don't know why I'm there. Maybe I just arrived, like this guy in a transit. I have it's completely explored. I have a base there, so I can't do scientific research with my ship. So I'm kind of useless. The ships around Earth are useless too. Just realized just how many ships are heading into here. It's kind of funny. So the thing I'm playing in Raid right now, it takes about 2 minutes to run. And I'm really not enjoying running up and down, so I'm going to finish exploration and stop there, but yeah. Here we're going to shoot this comet instead of exploring. Okay. That's going to get us 1 IP and $3 billion and some additional physics production. And that happens during production, which is weird, but it means that that's the only time I have to check those hexes. So it actually works out well play-wise, but and that's the extent of the exploration. Didn't find anything up there. This ship was damaged. I don't remember why I left that damaged instead of repairing it. Oh, maybe because I have no money. I get the feeling I built a ship, though. Like I built this warship. Because this guy, he has nothing going in favor of him. He took a risk trying to search with it. Maybe it had been shot or something and flew into the system, but either way, I seem to remember there were 2 ships still kicking around there. That's it for now. I'm setting it so that I go to the develop tech. Unlike before, I'm not really, like my mind's not stressing in the same way, although my body is no matter what. But the thing I'm doing in Raid, like what I've been doing the last couple days, which is why I haven't been playing at all, among other reasons. But it is a relatively short period of time. Now the other thing took like 12 seconds to run each time, and I kind of had to be there and do all kind of juggling and shifting and stuff yesterday. So. And I also was in no mental state. But oh God. This, I'm going to be there for many hours because there's not a nice way to automate it. There's a tool that allows you to but I can't get that thing to work right, and I'm not sure. But inside the game, there's like, there's almost no play aid. There's no tools to help you do certain kinds of things. Some things you can get away with. Well, later, done with raid for the night. I'll do some before I go to bed. But so I'm doing the develop tech. So far, nobody's bought a card. People have been being kind of conservative. Being conservative. So one of the reasons is to save your cards. To make sure you hold your cards until you have enough resources up to buy them. But there's also hey, hoarding resources is kind of cool because you need a lot to buy a level somewhere. So like, I don't know, let's just take the consortium as an example. They're going here for this improved genetic manipulation. That'll allow them to buy this for 10 next turn. And since green has already chosen, I know that I'm safe going in there. You might make an argument that maybe it would make sense to make multiple rounds of purchases. So for example, each person makes one purchase, then each person could make another, whatever. I could see a good argument for that in the sense that, like, let's say the givers are like, oh shit, we don't want that. Well, unfortunately, they've already picked their bio purchase. But if they had picked like an engineering purchase, they could then move to here and get the 10 points instead of taking this cheap bio that they didn't really need that much. They would have had the points to work the other way, and might have tried to grab that IP before the consortium does. Yeah, I'm stuck on a situation with the Starfarers because I've got this Traders Guild card, which I could buy. And it's kind of a cool card if you're going to do trading. I don't think they're doing much trading, so I don't mind putting it off until I kind of figure out where the fuck I am in terms of, like, am I going to change the trade rules or not? I was pretty excited about doing it, but now I'm like, yeah, I think I found some of the potential flaws with it, and I'm not sure that I found good answers for all of them. Tinkering around, I might find them and add them to my thread, but there's also the idea of, like, playing the game as it's meant to be played. See if trade ever becomes of real interest going around, or if these are just $1 tokens for the most part. No one's breaking any new ground. Praetorians getting their movement modifier up big for the, if they're at all interested in military, they want to be able to move as fast as everyone else, right? And then everyone else really focusing here on the biology sector because there's a lot of cheap stuff there. So these two getting the malfunction rate down. This is important maybe at some point, I don't know. I mean, if you're exploring with your CVs, you don't want to be paying for those hits every turn. So at the very least, there's that. But then here, all but one player is now at the 40% system rate. And then this guy went in for level 2 genetic manipulation. That gives him a shot to go in there, which is really what I was alluding to before. That is end of turn. We got one more for the century, so I'm going to wait to load this up, even though there's lots of crap on here, I'm sure, as usual. Put my IP there. I am going to break, go play my other game, whatever. I'm really kind of worried. I may be up here playing a lot, because the computer is not really, Raid is not sucking my brain right now. It's not sucking enough of my time and energy. And the other game I've kind of mostly stopped playing. I take like an hour a day or whatever on it, which is too little. If it was my only game, I could spend more time on it, but it's really not that much fun. And I don't want to just sit there watching vids. If I was up during the day, I mean, it's fucking rainy every day. Like, I have to go shopping. I'm not going to. Tomorrow it's supposed to rain again. It's supposed to rain until Thursday, I think. What is it? I guess it's Monday morning now. I can't cut wood. I could go for a walk in the rain. Tend not to do that anymore. I don't know. Right. So now we fix the things that we put into place. And we are on the last turn of the century. What do we get? Draw event. Okay. This is a painful one because I got to swap backs. After putting the anomalies back in, we got a colonial rush. The players with the lowest total settlements at bases add one settlement to each of their bases. This is a one use. It gets discarded afterwards. Total settlements at bases. Okay, I'm going to have to do a count. But the nice thing is I can just track whoever is lowest after I do any set of counting. So, if I count this guy and he has, say, 7, I'll put him up here and I'll put a 7. Then let's say this guy has 7 as well. That's fine. Then if this guy has 6, I move these back and I rotate, la la la. Actually, I don't have to worry because I know who has the lowest total. It's the Starfarers. They have 0, and so they're unaffected by it. And into the box. Okay. When things are easy. This was not so easy, having to rotate all those different counters in one system, because I move system by system, and then when I get to a whole system, yeah, I can rotate around, but it's icky. All right, on to build and repair then. And we may have people repairing ships in flight. I see damaged ships coming in and stuff like that, so I got to think about this pretty carefully. The True Paths warship here kind of frightened everybody away. Most people didn't have a lot of money, and some didn't have ship capacity. So like Transhumanists had enough money to build one of these probes, which would be safe, but they already have 5 ships out, I think. Yeah, 3, 4, 5. So nobody built anything. We had a few repairs go on. I don't think we have any combat situations available. Cluttered as this is, there's only one ship actually in system, so we can skip that. And we go to cargo, transport, and trade. And I'm leaning more and more towards sticking with the original trade system, just because the switch isn't good, and so much depends. Like, I feel like I'd have to change more than I listed in my. One of the things is I really don't like the idea of like being able to make trades very easily, and then the trade directives become very easy to make. As it is, they're kind of lousy to make, but they're not that hard. You just have to pick the right shit. Where there's something like deliver 2 rare earth, 2 rare materials to Earth, or, whatever. It's just like, wow, that's really not hard at all if I implement the new system. And I don't want to make the directives too easy, because most of them are pretty damn hard. I saw the guy who did the solo game failed to get any directives, basically, and took the penalty for it. And he played the whole damn thing out. I don't know how he failed to get any. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was a lesser penalty for that. Base dropped here. Can't drop a base here because there's no planet. He's going to probably fly over there or up there. What's his range? He could go to either. And his habitability, he can live in 80%. So, kind of a choice. This one, he can't build the base at, and he's not going to have enough military to deal with that. So yeah, he'll go down here, I guess. Could go here, where there's this settlement bonus. That might be appealing. course, there's a warship there. Here, at least I have a warship protecting me. This guy does not have the money to build his settlers. It's kind of interesting to stick around at Earth. It is a waste of a ship, though, that could be out exploring and do it. Well, could be out moving to get to where it can explore. He's got a decent movement modifier. It might be worth him moving. But we come to the last player, and we have entertainment going to a place with entertainment. This is him. He does not want to sell goods there, but he gets to sell here. He does not have his own base here, but he's worried someone else will get there. I go first in order. I actually did this the wrong way. Cargo transfer, I went that way instead of this way. If I deploy my own base, but my base doesn't get there for 3 turns, he's going to get there before. So I'll sell it here at the pink base. I am not the consortium, so I don't have a bonus for that. And so I am selling, this has got KD, so it's +1. It doesn't have MO. So it's got a base price of 4. I'll get 3, and the pink guy will get $1. Got a few moves. This guy running away from here. This guy running away from here, because there's a bunch of warships coming in before his own warships come in. He's just like, yeah, that doesn't really make sense. Yeah, not a hell of a lot though. The yellow ship did move on to here. Helps protect my base. That's why I turned the camera on in addition to talking about this, which is, I kind of forget, you could attack bases just for this with ground combat. So like here, this guy could attack this. And I don't know, is that good? Is it bad? It's hard to tell. You get escalation, whatever, but you get to discard that, and you probably are hurting your enemy. So it might be worthwhile where a base is significantly weaker. I just forgot about it, but I'll have a shot next turn if I remember. And now we're on the exploration. You see that taken out? I don't know what else. I missed one. There's a machinery that I delivered there. I don't need to do that, but I'll drop it off anyway. I'm doing the exploration. I'm like, whoa, what's that doing here? So that's for $5, because there's a K. Here's the thing. He moved here, delivered machinery, and more than machinery came up as a new demand, but he delivered machinery. He got $5 for that. What else could he have done? Well, if he had money, which maybe he did it at the time, but I doubt it, he could have delivered a colonist here, which would be a bigger deal, or to somewhere else. Here would be a big deal. That would be a new base to grow and everything. But I've already got 3 bases planned, so that didn't make a lot of sense. So using my cargo capacity makes sense to go here. But I got nothing I can do here. This is not a research or a mining ship, so it's kind of pointless out there. And now it's going to take me another where's my movement? Another 4 turns to get somewhere else to do something. On the other hand, exploring with CVs is dangerous. They have a very high malfunction rate. And that means, like, you're going to be dropping money on them regularly. We got hits here and here that came out this turn, for example. As they have higher exploration numbers, which means if you're hitting a new system, you know, you're looking at like above a 10 with a ship like this, which means you have a chance to draw 2 chits, you have a better chance to complete a survey, all kind of cool shit like that, because the 2 chits will count together if they're from the same ship. Oopsie just happened to him. He lost an RE there, but he also lost a CV, because it's level 2. That gives me more tech, but I didn't find the thing I wanted. Part of the reason I'm searching is that that I'm not trying to protect that ship or something, move it somewhere else, whatever, is that I have a goal, directive for this. So it's like, yeah. To resolve this violent separatists, I collected the 6 IP already, and there's no bonus for it. It's funny, they don't say remove from game if they have, like, you know, a one-time effect, but you're supposed to. And that'll allow me now to start exploring there again, which I don't think is particularly important to me, but it's where I am, and I don't know. I wanted the big 6 IP. I have a huge collection now. I'm at 28, as compared to the guy I was beating up on, who's only got 17. So you can see, like, being violent isn't necessarily horrible. Anomaly discovered here. System quarantine. Doesn't allow for anything anymore. It takes 9 science to discover. He might have it if he has a bonus. He does not on his own stuff. It's possible there's things up here that improve that, but again, I don't think anybody's reached that far. So this is not going to be able to be resolved, which means the system becomes kind of hellish at this point. We did replace this planet. We took the IP for it. Guess it's time to leave next turn, but it may be too late. I may get shot by then. One more. Well, let's do it in the open. This guy has a damaged ship, but it's a CV3, plus he actually has an extra hit point. So he's got a lot of room on that thing. Well, yeah, he's got a lot of room on that thing. So it's a 4, 3, 8, 9. Nothing there. He finds, and that'll be safe. Might as well do the whole thing. His find doesn't get him anything special. Gets me to the end of the road. It's time to develop techs, and then we load this up. So I kind of want to finish this up now. I wish I was tired. Like, I mean, sleep is a good escape when it works. It would be a good time to be playing like an immersive RPG or whatever. I think it's hard to tell, because I know that when my wife died, I was playing Kingdom Come Deliverance, and I don't know, it wasn't blocking things. I mean, I had been playing it before. It didn't really block things out. But I also was willing to face the pain a little bit more than I am nowadays. Anyway, let's get going with this. New pipe, and with Band-Aid on it. It's not. It's just paper wrapped inside because they get kind of loose. The wood gets loose. Running into some really hard decisions. So, for example, the Praetorians. They have a bunch of cards they kind of like. Techs and fleet improvements cost less. I had nowhere near the tech for it. Freight haulers is 30 engineering. I would like that, maybe. But I didn't have anywhere near those kind of points. I ended up spending 7 to go in here. Along with the consortium. Robotic Swarms has physics. I have no physics. I like these cards. I want them, but you know, I'm constantly spending tech to keep the cards in my hand and never getting closer to getting the cards. One person who broke new tech, quantum communications here, for the guy who has nothing. He gets an IP for that. Otherwise, people pretty much buying cheap shit. Again, you know, it's like well, maybe I can get enough points to make one of those big purchases. But the cards get really expensive really fast. What do we got here? Advanced component design, a couple people going into here. Yeah, that was a threat. That's part of why he went here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not everybody's in there. Let's see. A lot going forward on the CV malfunction rate. That is now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 there. He moved up into here to be able to terraform, but these guys have already gotten it. Okay. Another century passes. I was thinking, wow, this should rotate, you know, on like an even level, but fine. Not used to where the chips are anymore. Put this up here, and yeah, that's the end of this second century. This is a good place to load up. I don't know. I mean, things are getting more cluttered, but combat is getting rarer because, I don't know, you know, sort of the excitement of, hey, is this really valuable? Nah, it's not really valuable. And people are becoming more avoidant where it might be. Although I do think that an attack here might make sense. Just wipe out that guy's base, you know. Especially once my ship arrives, then I'll have even more firepower. All right, let's load it up, and I'll be back with the, hey, you know, on the next video with here's what's happened. Although I don't know how much has really happened. I mean, the board is getting more discovered. It feels like the techs, you know, they're increasing. The amount of tech that people are getting is increasing a little bit as the ships get more advanced, especially the CVs get more advanced. The robotics do not, except in terms of they can go faster and further and whatnot and have less malfunction chance, but they don't get better, which is kind of weird. Well, they get an exploration bonus here. That's cool. I mean, they sort of do get better, right? The quantum communications is really, really cool. And especially for someone who is relying really, I think, only on... no, he's got a couple of ships. Okay. All right.